Hey guys, welcome to part 8 of What If Naruto Was Adopted by Hyuga Clan. If you enjoy the video then like, share and subscribe and also comment your thoughts as it inspires me to make more such videos, and remember to check out my playlist section for other interesting stories. So let's get started. Chapter 44. Revelations. Chunin Arc. So, you ready? Shizune said I could move around, as long as I didn't use too much chakra, Naruto sighed. Well, we are only starting practicing this, so chakra won't be necessary, Tenten smirked. Is it true Tsunade-sama placed restricting seals on you? Yes, I can only use what Ba-chan said to be a quantity of chakra that a Jonin would have, Naruto grumbled. I can't even make more than 3 kage bunshin without feeling tired. Tenten chuckled a little. Is it so frustrating to be normal? I suppose. Having a demon like the Kyuubi crammed inside you also has a few advantages. So, what is the plan? Well, now that you have recovered, I figured we could start training. I mean, my team is pretty much off duty while Neji is absent, and Guy-sensei is on missions all of the time. And you are assigned to guard Gaara and the others. Yes, that is why I suggested splitting it. One morning training with spears, the other on Fuinjutsu. Also, Karen and Hinata will be joining us on the Fuinjutsu thing. Oh, okay. The more the merrier, Tenten smiled. You guys will probably need to cooperate for the bigger seals anyway, so doing it this way makes it a lot more efficient in training. Agreed. But, I didn't find much on spears or tridents, and I haven't used those that much anyway, so instead I suggest doing something similar. Bojutsu. Bojutsu. Tenten revealed 2 scrolls and summoned 2 staves from them. This staff is a bow, Tenten said while she threw one of them at Naruto. It's made out of the hard wood of a red oak. She started the lecture she had prepared in advance. This specific type is called a rokushukubo, as it is 6 foot long. Although this kind of weapon isn't specifically a spear, I picked it because it is pretty similar in some ways. Naruto swirled it around a bit and thought the bow felt oddly well balanced. As you can see, the bow is thick. It is about 1.25 inch thick at the middle. But you notice it is a bit tapered. The middle part is called the Chukunbu, but the ends, which are named the kante, are less thick. Like this one, the kante are about 3/4 of an inch. Because of the thick Chukunbu, a bow enables its user to block and counter an attack. Still sounds rather different from a spear, Naruto rejoined a little skeptically. Why are you so fixated on spears anyway? Tenten wondered. Quote. Won't tell Tenten sighed. You really like your secrets, don't you? I was expecting you to be all, spears are cool, and stuff. That's how kids our age usually react in my dad's shop. Ah well, it is true the bow is not a spear. It can use to thrust, swing, and strike. These thrusting, swinging, and striking techniques are similar to the unarmed movements of some taijutsu styles. These scrolls one brought along usually treat the bow as if it was an extension of your limbs. Still, the upwards movements are much like spear techniques. And by gripping one of the kante, rather than leaving both hands at the Chukunbu section, you effectively increase its length and make it very similar to a spear. Hell, you could even handle it as an odachi if the situation forced it. Sounds versatile, Naruto remarked. That's why I picked it. Tenten smiled proudly. Rather than training on specific weapon, you practice the fundamentals of a wider range of techniques. That's why my dad trained me in bojutsu. Though I should warn you that I started out with a jo, which is a much smaller bow, because we are not yet tall enough to use the 6-foot bow. But considering you wanted it for spears in the first place, I just decided to pick the version for adults. 6 foot is indeed a bit much for the extension of your limbs thing, Naruto agreed. He was 1 foot shorter than the staff was long. It didn't seem the most practical solution to him, but he trusted Tenten's judgment on this. Actually, I suppose the Hyuga do rather little with weapons. They rely purely on taijutsu, and it almost seems like it is an insult to them when they have to use weapons. Odd, with those eyes of theirs, they would be incredible archers. Imagine them as snipers. I wonder how they even got such a strong tradition with regard to taijutsu. It hardly makes sense. Juken is useful, but to only rely on that seems like a waste of their eyes. But perhaps they were just too proud, thinking that archery was the coward's way of fighting. Or perhaps they think themselves to be too noble for ranged combat. They're surely stupid enough to come with such reasons. While the only thing a shinobi needs to do is to execute their tasks as swiftly and efficiently as possible, their foolish pride would only limit their abilities. Okay, shall we start with a spar so that you can figure out how the bow feels, or do you first want to train a few kata? You're awfully distracted today, Hinata-chan, Hitomi chided her daughter gently. When it was just the two of them, Hitomi dropped the formal facade she usually wore in the presence of others. She knew Hinata understood this duality in her mother's behavior, quite unlike her younger sister. Everyone had a soft side, even her husband. Though Hitomi thought she saw the man she once fell in love with less frequently than she preferred, and seen the distant and cold clan leader persona became less of a facade and more his real personality. He once was so honest and caring, so sweet and shy when we just began dating. Sorry mother, Hinata apologized. Well, what is wrong? Did you say something wrong to Naruto-kun? Hinata flushed. Mother. Now, we have discussed this before. Do not try to hide your feelings from yourself. Yes mother. Your affection for him is quite obvious, even to the untrained eye, Hitomi smiled. Whenever you are depressed or cheerful, it is usually because of Naruto-kun. So, what happened that makes you so distracted today? Naruto-kun. He chose to use the Kyuubi's power, but by doing so he damaged the seal that imprisons it, Hinata replied, somewhat flustered by her mother's remark. However, she had more to add. Hitomi could see it clearly. The anger, frustration, sadness, and above all, the worry. Did he explain why he did it? Yes, Hinata sighed. He told us that he was the only one capable of stopping Gaara without killing him. But still, why did he have to risk his own life like that? It isn't fair. Life is not fair, Hinata. No one asks for your permission. The world doesn't consider fairness. What happens, happens. Many within our clan believe that we are led by fate, that it is our fate that is unfair to us. Personally, I disagree with that view, Hitomi said with a sorrowful voice. Mother. Hinata, if something bad happens, do you blame your fate, or do you blame the one responsible for it? Hinata blinked away her confusion at the sudden change in her mother's demeanor. The person responsible, of course. Then don't you agree that people blind themselves by thinking about concepts as fairness and fate? Hitomi asks. You have to learn this lesson, my girl, or you won't grow. Naruto-kun once said that it would be nicer not to see through all the lies. But, Hitomi insisted. But while our Byakugan helps us see through the lies which others tell, it doesn't help us with the lies we tell ourselves, Hinata replied after a minute of silence. Do you think Naruto-kun fights for himself? Hinata felt as if her head was literally in turmoil. Hitomi's style of teaching predominantly focused on making her daughter see the connections between things, to let her daughter find a way to connect the dots. But not just that. Some things were related while one expected them unrelated, while others were actually unrelated while everyone supposed they were related. Mother makes me doubt everything, yet tells me to draw confidence from the fact that our doubts allow us to improve. While those afraid of doubt hide themselves in the lies they proclaim to be facts, and fail to rise above themselves. Doubt is necessary to learn, but why does she ask about Naruto-kun now? I know what Naruto-kun, that's it, I didn't doubt Naruto-kun. Hitomi could see the realization on her daughter's face. You admire Naruto-kun, but you have to learn that this admiration can prevent you from understanding who he is and what he wishes to achieve. Now, can you answer my question? Naruto-kun does not fight for himself, Hinata mused. Always try to look beyond the layers people want to show. True insight shows more than people see themselves. That is why I taught you to be true to your own feelings. It is our empathy that gives us access to the true insight of the Byakugan, not cold logic. Naruto-kun also does not fight for Konoha. If he did that, he could have found other solutions to defeat Gaara-san. No, when he saw Gaara-san, he saw himself. Gaara-san shares his fate as Jinchuriki. What about Gaara-san made Naruto care so much? Gaara-san nearly lost control. He had troubles with his seal. Hinata suddenly realized what her mother wanted her to see. And he saw his own problems, and is afraid he would end up just like Gaara-san, Hitomi nodded. Yet, because he fears such a fate, he did not want Gaara-san to suffer it. What does this tell you about Naruto? He cares more about others than himself. That certainly would explain his reckless nature, Hitomi laughed. Hinata looked a bit surprised at her mother, because the woman did not laugh that often. Oh, how my cousin could complain about that, Hitomi smiled, both sad about Haruki's death and fondly remembering him. Does this mean Naruto-kun intends to give up? I do not know, Hitomi said honestly. I cannot say how it would be to be a Jinchuriki. I can hardly imagine the hatred Naruto or Gaara face, both from the people around them, and the demons they imprison. And still, they have access to a vast power, even if it is beyond their ability to control that power properly. I suspect Naruto-kun imposes more responsibilities on himself than he should. He knows what he can do, but he wants to go too fast. Too fast. If he waited and trained to gain more control, he would not face such risks for himself. By acting now, he may have weakened his seal, and brought the Kyuubi one step closer to regaining freedom. And still, he does not intend to let the Kyuubi break free. What does this tell you, Hinata? Hinata frowned, and despite giving it a long thought, she couldn't come to an answer. Help him, Hitomi said, seeing her daughter had yet much to learn, even though she was at the right path. Even if he does not see the need for help himself. And while you are doing this, try to find the answer to my question. Yes, Hinata, you must see this yourself. He intends to take the demon down with him. I knew it when I last spoke to him. His eyes betrayed him. He has but little hope for himself. Hitomi repressed her urge to sigh, not wanting to worry her daughter. Not yet at least. And someone without hope will take big risks. But if Hinata is near, he would refrain from such risks. I know that he would never want to hurt her, no matter what the consequences for himself are. She watched as her eldest daughter, completely preoccupied by her own thoughts, left the room they used for their training session. Oh Hiyashi-kun, if only you understood. Our girl is so much smarter than you give her credit for. Yet you only chase the superficial strength which our clan values so much. Why can't you see that our Byakugan can used for more than just our gentle fist style? Then again, you never understood that our insight is derived from our own emotions, and not from cold logic. Our clan is so caught up in the lies and deceit that created our traditions. And you lack the strength to break through those traditions. If only I had recognized that sooner, if only I had known our clan's true history when you were still open to such progressive ideas. What's with all the noise? Temari wondered. Miss Mizukage is leaving today. I saw the villagers had prepared some kind of miniature festival when I reported to Ji-san this morning. Quite odd to see how quickly opinion can change. Then again, she did deserve her place as a hero of our village, Naruto explained. Then again, after Ji-san announced the new alliance between Konoha and Kurigakure, people lost the last doubts they had about her, I suppose. Ah well, I can understand. She's a bit odd, yet a very kind person. An alliance. Yeah, defensive alliance, Naruto nodded. Ji-san said that he believed Kiri would change, and from what I saw Miss Mizukage truly intends to change her village. Apparently they are fed up with all the carnage and betrayal that their village was known for during the reign of their previous Mizukage. Wow, this is big news, Temari blinked. With Konoha now allied with Kiri, I really hope our council does everything in its power to re-establish the past alliance between us. They will, Gaara said. Konoha allying itself with Kurigakure will upset both Kumogakure and Iwagakure. It will alter the balance of our world. Our village will have to ally itself with Konoha, or Iwa will turn against us. They would feel threatened if our three nations would ally and exploit any chance they get to weaken a potential alliance between three nations. Probably, Naruto shrugged. We still have a peace treaty with Kumo, but after their past transgressions I doubt that there is much trust between us. Iwagakure would be even less happy, considering the grudges that everyone holds after the past wars. They still seem rather livid about what the Yondaime Hokage did, Temari agreed. Who doesn't? Naruto grumbled, resenting the man for sealing the Kyuubi within him. So, there's another festival. Kiba said, not really caring about politics. Sweet. Why didn't you say anything? You guys want to go too. Kiba, I think it is better for Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro not to be there. It is more or less a celebration of our victory during the invasion, Naruto said softly. I doubt the people will like seeing people from Suna at such a time. Oh, I see, Kiba mumbled. Ah well, at least there is always next week's festival. What are you talking about? Tamari frowned. Naruto sighed. You and Kankuro could go if you wanted, but Gaara should stay out of that one too. What? Why? Kankuro didn't understand it. Next week is the annual festival in the remembrance of the day the Kyuubi attacked Konoha, Naruto said, surprising the others with the bitterness in his voice. Needless to say that Jinchuriki are not invited. He turned and walked away. Well, that's something I wasn't expecting, Kiba frowned. So, what got into Yukido? Anko sat down next to Naruto. They sat on top of the roof, the side that faced away from Konoha. Nothing. Naruto grumbled. Ah come on, you can tell Anko Nichan, Anko smiled. She was bored to just be a guard, and she had heard enough from Kurenai about these kids to like them. Naruto looked at her, wondering if she ever stopped joking around. Well, right now she's not the same bloodthirsty lunatic who tried to drive me out of her training ground, Naruto mused, and then pointed at her neck. Instantly, her smile disappeared. So you can understand how I feel, he smiled somberly. I suppose I somewhat understand your position, Anko grimaced. So what is going on with your temper? I hate festivals. Ah, so it's about the annual festivities. You understand what it is to be hated for something you can't help. How old were you when Orochimaru left that mark on you? Anko blinked. What do you know about? Oh, the Uchiha. Yes. Orochimaru was my Jonin sensei, Anko confessed. But I know little about the period when I got this shitty thing. My memory is hazy. He probably removed whatever he deemed to be too risky. And quite thoroughly too, not even the Yamanaka were able to unlock those memories. Must have been quite a betrayal. Quote. Naruto looked at the Tokubetsu Jonin and saw her sad grimace. Stop it, he said, pointing at the seal. I can feel it. Your anger. The seal seems to react to it. Anko frowned. You feel it? Are you telling me you're a sensor now? Not really. I just seem to be able to sense the negativity in people, their darkness. So, your act as the sadistic and crazy torturer doesn't really work that well, he smirked. She probably just does that to keep people away. To prevent herself from being hurt again, by all those who can't see the woman behind the seal. Or by those who betray her for other reasons. Did Ji-san assign her to me because of that? He probably knew his Anbu couldn't all be trusted, so he chose the one person capable of understanding a burden that usually only other Jinchuriki can fathom. Even if her seal is weak, as Orochimaru is a far cry from the Kyuubi's overwhelming power. Wiseass, she grumbled. So, what is with your festival phobia? Imagine that each year, there was a day where all the victims of Orochimaru were remembered through a festival. How would you think the villagers react when they see you, his former student and the one who bears his seal, at that very festival? Anko grimaced. What does that have to do with it? When I was a kid, I never understood why there was one day when I was treated particularly badly. In the orphanage, it was more or less a custom to condone violence from other kids against me, but every year there was that one day where the adults actually encouraged the other children to beat me up, Naruto sighed. So, when I was 4, I ran away. I discovered that there was some kind of festival in the village, so in my curiosity I started to explore it a bit. I woke up a few days later in the hospital, and still don't remember what had happened. When I was 5, I was thrown out of the orphanage the day before it. The woman said that it was the proper punishment for me, after what had happened the year before. I tried to hide, but something exploded. Still, I wasn't that badly wounded. Fires never did hurt much, after all. When I was 6, shortly before I entered the Hyuga clan, I hid better. It took them all day before they found me. That is when I discovered that some people thought that hurting me was part of the festival. As if it was some kind of game. A fox hunt, as they called it. What? You can't be serious. Anko uttered in complete disbelief. That's horrible. You wanted to know why I hate festivals. It is the worst birthday party anyone could get, Naruto shrugged. Do you hate Konoha? Naruto looked at the snake mistress. It was the first time he truly saw her as a kind and gentle soul, rather than the rough and short-tempered attitude she usually had. She really should stop hiding like that. She is a far kinder person than most would expect her to be. Just what emotional scars does she bear? From what I saw when we went to CG-san this morning, people aren't too fond of you either. I decided to tell you this, not because like I wanted to whine or something, but because you would understand my position. I took a chance, in hope that you would understand. Think about this. You still serve Konoha too, why? Enko nodded, and then frowned. Naruto chuckled a bit as he saw her struggle to find the answer. Even though Konohagakure is my home, I don't particularly like it not as the village is right now. But I intend to change it, to show them all that they were wrong, that it isn't me who is the monster, but the one who created me. I will do whatever I can to make this a better place for the few friends I have. So that future generations don't have to suffer our fates. She couldn't immediately reply. And here I thought you were just another stupid brat. I underestimated you, kid. You are a lot smarter than I gave you credit for. We who are marked have two choices. Either to stay stagnant and wither away, or to move and grow beyond ourselves. You should know that our burdens force us to grow at faster rate, just to survive in this hostile environment. She gave an involuntary shudder, and touched her curse seal. A burden is not just something which slows us down, Naruto remarked. It is also something that can drive us. Although it carries great risk, because it is so terribly tempting to give in to the temptations it can offer. Ready. What are you planning? Karen asked reluctantly. I know I agreed with this, but this seems a bit stupid. She looked down at the sheets Naruto had given her, Tenten, and Hinata. Well, I asked you to read it, Naruto blinked. You said you'd teach us our clan's fuinjutsu. Not this weird scribbling. Well, these are the basics, Naruto shrugged. I refuse to just let you replicate seals when you don't know how they exactly function. Besides, you guys will face more trouble than I do, because the more demanding seals will require you to team up with others. Neither of you possess enough chakra. Karen sighed. Could you at least show us something? Didn't you see enough during the final round of our Chunin exams? Naruto chuckled. But I suppose I could. He suddenly twitched and turned towards the house. Damn it, Tamari. Don't use your fan like that. Sorry. A voice shouted back, though it didn't sound too convincing. You better be. I can't spam these things around like I'm used to doing, he grumbled while going through the hand seal to create a new clone. He was left a bit winded in the effort. Seriously, if I don't understand her training method to master the use of wind chakra, she should explain it better instead of slapping me with that stupid giant folding fan. He coughed. Okay, as I was saying, what was I saying again? You were going to demonstrate a seal, Tenten snickered. Ah, yes. I'll just do a simple weight seal, and explain the basic idea behind it. I gave you all copies of the basic theory I think you should first go through, so after I do that one seal you can go read. When were you supposed to be at the office of Hokage-sama? Hinata asked shyly. At 12. So there is time, I have got at least 40 minutes before I have to leave. So then, start, Karen said impatiently. She had literally been nagging him to teach her some of their clan's secrets. Okay, one of the basics of Uzumaki-style fuinjutsu is the signature swirl that can usually be found in the center of seals. It is basically the same vortex-like symbol that is used as the symbol of Uzushiogakure. The symbol, however, is not just used as decoration. It is the place where the chakra is sealed, while the entire system of signs and connections distributes that stored chakra in such a way that the intended effect is created. Basically, the vortex is you, while the system surrounding it consists of the hand signs, the shape transformation, and the nature transformation. And more. For instance, each person has his own unique type of chakra. The drawn system also contains filters to isolate the type of chakra for which it is intended. Or, in your case, can blend chakra of multiple people in order to create one single jutsu. Ni-san, why are you explaining all this? Why can't we just copy existing seals? Karen, can you execute a jutsu when you see the hand signs someone else uses? Naruto asks. Well, no, but it is said that our clan was wiped out because people feared our fuinjutsu, Naruto explained. That should tell you how dangerous fuinjutsu is. I refuse to teach you anything you don't know the risks about. A simple weight seal isn't that dangerous, but if you have for instance the Enetsu Jigoku seal, one missing connection, one unclearly drawn corner sign, and it could blow up and destroy you and everything around you. Karen gulped, and Hinata and Tenten looked equally distressed. Good thing that Lee decided not to come, Tenten whispered, despite his earlier words and acknowledgement that knowledge on Fuinjutsu would be a useful thing to have. Is that why you asked Hinata to join? I mean, her chakra control is top-notch. Yes, that's part of the reason why I asked her. Naruto smiled as he saw said Hyuga blush from the praise. I suppose I could have asked Ino as well, but as far as I have seen she has less finesse when it comes to chakra control. And her temper would be bad too, because learning this stuff will really be a test of patience. Meanwhile, Sakura has too little chakra to be really useful, even though her control has always been the best of our class. Not to mention that her love for theory would be a great asset, but I doubt she would willingly come to this place. And I'm not sure if I wanted her here either. As for the others, well, I barely know Shino, so I can't judge him very well. I refuse to teach Sasuke any of our clan's Fuinjutsu, so he is out too. And Choji and Shikamaru lack control. Well, in Shikamaru's case the issue is more motivation than control. You three are the only ones who meet the qualifications to learn Fuinjutsu, and also the only ones who I trust enough to teach these clan secrets. Even if two of you aren't Uzumaki, Naruto chuckled. He wasn't lying about the latter. He saw Karen as his sister, and if she had the same kind of talent with regard to Fuinjutsu, she would pick it up quick enough. Hinata was his first and best friend, and he fully trusted that her ability and intelligence would more than suffice to learn Fuinjutsu. And Tenten, the girl he basically traded knowledge with, had already shown her talent towards Fuinjutsu. Even though it was mostly dormant, considering her position as a clanless girl. No one had taught her anything beyond the basic seals that could be found in Konoha's library. And even with that limited knowledge she managed to create an interesting combination where she could quickly draw a great number of weapons from her sealing scrolls. However, like I said earlier, mastering Fuinjutsu will not be easy for any of you. None of you possess enough chakra to create the more demanding seals on your own. You do not have the chakra reserves for it. That is why you three need to know how seals work, because that is the best way to ease the cooperation. So, we need to draw seals in a different way because we need to activate them together. Hinata frowned. We possess different types of chakra, Karen nodded. I can feel that. So what alterations do we need to make to seals in order to do that? Tenten asked eagerly. Hold it. I told you to start at the basics. Naruto halted the bun-haired girl's enthusiasm. Rolling out a scroll, he quickly drew the weight seal. Okay, so you see the basic layout. The vortex which holds the chakra at the center, and the 4 quadrants you see here, he pointed at each section. Now, I am not going to explain how each section works, nor how they interact with each other. That would require me to explain what the signs themselves mean, and how the connectors between those signs work, as well as the main chakra conductors. That is stuff you will find in the theory. Naruto drew a much simpler and smaller seal next to it. This is what happens if you thoroughly understand a seal. You can create shortcuts. Mind you, though the basic function is exactly the same as what its big brother does, this small one is far less effective. In durability, power, and relative chakra cost, the entire range of performance is worse. Then why use that smaller one? Karen frowned. Because in battle, you do not have time to draw the big one, and we cannot have every seal prepared before we go into battle. I mean, even if I took the amount of effort it would take to carry so many scrolls with pre-written seals in them into account, the sheer time it would cost to activate would be a disadvantage. In a battle, each second counts. And these shortcuts can be created by your chakra itself, using the chakra writing method, not by writing it out in ink. But you can use barriers to give yourself time, right? Tenten asks. True, but those have limitations too. You'd never have the initiative and always leave time for your opponent to counter your attack before you even execute it. Because of it, much of the Uzumaki Fuinjutsu style requires preparation, and in general it is predominantly aimed at ambushing opponents or defense. If we don't have the initiative, Fuinjutsu is hard to use effectively due to the preparation time. It is like rigging an area with traps, Hinata realized. Unless you know how to instantly execute a seal, but that would be much more difficult I suppose. That leads to this smaller seal, Naruto nodded. Now, many of the scrolls one have learned up till now don't offer these shortcuts. And the practical use is also limited in many cases. I mean, you saw my fight with Lee. I needed direct contact to apply the seals. Though, I have the advantage of using my clones as substitutes. But you could use other objects, like kunai or arrows, as well. Tenten axe. Yes, of course one can. But that requires you to have those objects prepared, or at least carry kunai with blank notes or something. And for some seals, that method would require a workaround as well. Take this weight seal for instance. If I applied it on a kunai and activated it, only the kunai would become heavy. Tenten nodded, although her head became a bit dazzled with the number of variables that she would have to take into account with fuinjutsu. Tweaking a seal was doable, but this, can I even do this? There is so much I need to learn, it is mind-boggling. However, unlike Tenten, the other two girls had little to no experience with fuinjutsu at all. To them it was like Naruto was speaking a completely different language. Seeing the dismay on faces of his students, Naruto began to laugh. Relax, it's not like you have to figure it all out on your own. I'll help you however I can. I mean, I had to pretty much figure it all out by myself, but you don't have to go through that. I mean, it took me a few years, and that was with the use of the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. So don't expect to master this stuff in a week, okay? Her enthusiasm crumbled. Karen nodded in defeat. Yes, Ni-san. After teaching them some of the basics of the fuinjutsu theory, Naruto had to hurry to the office of the Hokage. He left Anko to guard Gaara, as he didn't know how long it would take before he would return. Unlike the reports he and Anko had to give the old man every now and then, this summon had been different. Entering the old man's office, Naruto was shocked to see how old and fragile the man looked. I'm fine, Tsunade, please leave us. Anbu, you three leave the room too. Tsunade, seal the room when you leave, I do not want anyone to listen in on this conversation, Hiruzen commanded. Hokage-sama, are you? Yes, Rado, in private, Hiruzen cut him off. Unable to go against his direct orders, the three guards left the office. Tsunade grumbled something at Naruto about, don't you dare get him upset, and left the office as well. What is that all about, Ji-san? Naruto frowned. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed, and felt the pain in his bones. It is like this child makes me feel twice as old. Oh Naruto, I wish I could have kept the truth a bit longer from you, but I do not have the time. And if I waited any longer, it could pose a threat to Konoha. There are several things I need to discuss with you, Naruto-kun, Hiruzen started. First of all, he pointed at the pile of documents that had been thrown in the trash can. Those are the requests I received after your little escapade a few days ago. Naruto swallowed and looked at the papers. The top one seemed to be a request to send him to jail. Many petitioners seem to believe that you lack control over the Kyuubi, and wanted me to imprison you, seal your chakra, or even execute you. It's needless to say that I denied every request, and I sent letters to all who filed complaints explaining that it had been a response to a betrayal by one of my own Anbu. So much for a change in reputation. Naruto mumbled. Things were looking up after what you did during the invasion, yes, Hiruzen agreed. But the fear of the Kyuubi will remain, it seems. But there are a few things I need to tell you before I die. I'm sorry, Ji-san, Naruto said, downcast. Don't be. If anything, I thank you, Uzumaki Naruto, for giving me this extra time. If it hadn't been for the partial antidote Tsunade created out of your blood, I would have long been gone. And I would have suffered a lot more pain than I do now. No, I am nearly out of time, and quite frankly I do not really mind it. I have lived a long life, and though I will be sad I have to leave my loved ones behind, I know better than most that this is merely the cycle that all life has to follow, Hiruzen smiled placidly. But before I go, I would like to see my successor take over my position. And I only have a few people capable of that. But none of them are willing, and the one who is willing is the man I cannot give the position. I called you here because you might sway his decision. You want Ero Sennin to take the hat, don't you? Hiruzen chuckled, always liking the nickname the boy had given to his former student. Yes, Jiraiya is by far the best alternative, don't you agree? Well, by the looks of it, it would be him or Ba-chan, Naruto shrugged. And I don't think that someone who runs away from her past and tries to drink her pain away is fit to lead a village. I don't think that being Hokage is an easy job, so unless she has a serious change of heart, I doubt she would be able to take it. She is too cynical. Ah, I suppose your assessment is correct, even though it is somewhat harsh, Hiruzen sighed. Tsunade has faced a lot of sorrow. And everyone has a point at which they break. Yet what point would there be in giving a broken person the hat? Naruto countered. Not that I say it because I hate her, but I'd rather see Tsunade Bachan doing something that makes her happy, something that suits her better than such responsibility. Hiruzen stared at the boy. If only I could have lasted another few years. What kind of man would he be in 5 years? Sure, he would still be young for taking my position, but Minato was young too. If only I had more time. I definitely need to discuss this boy's potential with Jiraiya, though I have little doubt that he sees the same thing as I do. No, he probably sees it even better. His insight in human nature has always been one of his strongest points. If this child takes control of the Kyuubi's power, I doubt that anyone would be able to stop him. Ji-san. Naruto frowned, a bit confused by the old man, who had become lost in thought all of a sudden. Yes. Oh, yes, we were discussing Jiraiya. The reason I called for you is because Jiraiya refused my position when I offered it to him. So, we agreed to resume our discussion after he returns. He left Konoha to deliver Yugito-san to the border of the Land of Lightning, because we thought it was better for her to leave the village after the fight between her and the Kyuubi, Hiruzen explained. But he refused the position because of you, Naruto. Me. Why? Because he promised that he would teach you. He feels like his duty to you would not allow him to become the Godime Hokage. So, you want me to tell him I don't need his teachings anymore? Naruto frowned. He would see right through that lie, and you know that, Ji-san. I don't want that, but I would prefer another solution. One where Jiraiya can stay in Konoha while teaching you what you need to learn at the same time. The future of the village is more important than any individual, Naruto. And while you are definitely important to Konoha, the village needs good leadership in these times. Quote. Do you think that such an arrangement is possible? I suppose. It would require that I stay here too. Naruto grimaced a little. Though it would be nice to stay close to the others, it would also mean that I can't get away from this hatred-filled place. Then again, there isn't really another solution, is there? Ji-san is right. Ero Sennin is the best option he has. He'll need someone strict enough to keep him in line though. Someone who makes sure that he isn't going to change regulations on the hot springs and all. He needs to get someone extremely strict as his secretary. Okay, I'll try to convince him. But you know the old pervert is as stubborn as a goat. A comparison to a toad would have been more fitting, Hiruzen smiled. Really? The toads seem pretty laid back to me, Naruto shrugged. But if I am forced to stay here, I want one thing in return. And that is. Hiruzen was a little surprised. In all his years Naruto hardly ever asks anyone for anything. Revoke your law. My law. The one that forbids anyone from telling the truth about me and the Kyuubi, Naruto said, somewhat on edge. No matter what your intentions were when you made that law, the ignorance of people regarding me and my burden caused more damage than it ever benefited me. Naruto watched as the old man's shoulders slumped, and the lines in his old face seemed deeper than ever. I am sorry. Don't worry about it. I know you did it because it was your intention to protect me. But now is the time to revoke that law. People have seen too much anyway, Naruto said. They fear and will hate me anyway, but at least it would be nice if they knew the truth about me. Why I because like this, which idiot caused it, etc. You think that would change their opinion on you? If it means that people will see that I am Uzumaki Naruto, jailer of the Kyuubi, and not the Kyuubi himself, it's worth a shot, Naruto shrugged. But, you said you wanted to discuss several things, but so far you only talked about Ero Sennin taking the hat. Then I will make sure that the law will be revoked. I will explain it to the council and the people of Konoha when I announce my resignation. And yes, there were a few other things. First of all, I heard you found someone of your family. Yes. Tsunade Bachan figured out that Karen is one of the Uzumaki clan as well. It's quite awesome to learn that I'm not the only Uzumaki anymore. Hiruzen chuckled. I see you accepted her as well. Well, I was supposed to grant these to you when you were legally an adult. Hiruzen handed Naruto a folder the size of a book. This contains the title deed, the description of, and the history of the Uzumaki manor. I cannot expect you and Karen to live with the Hyuga, while you are only their guest. Wait, Uzumaki manor. My clan had such property in Konoha. Why wasn't I told before? Naruto, you should know that the Uzumaki manor contains several dangerous artifacts of your clan. Because it is shielded by your clan's barriers, only a few can enter the property. As such, it was not the best place for you to grow up, all alone. Hiruzen defended his decision. I have asked Tsunade to show you around after our meeting is finished. But I must warn you, while the living quarters are intact, the temple building and some of the annexes received damage during the attack of the Kyuubi. But they can be rebuilt. The most important are the living quarters, which survived that day perfectly. Though I presume it is rather dusty by now, considering how no one has lived there since your mother moved out. My mother. Naruto asks, feeling equally stunned that the old man knew her, something which he had always denied, and curious. My mother lived in Konoha. Yes, Hiruzen sighed. I better start with his mother. He will want to know who she is, why she came to Konoha, and then, he will likely not be too happy to learn who his father is. Yes, I knew your mother well, Hiruzen sighed. Naruto, please understand that I didn't keep this knowledge from you without very good reasons. In fact, I must urge you to keep what I am about to tell you a secret as well. He waited until Naruto nodded that he understood. Your mother was sent here from Uzushiogakure, the village hidden by whirling tides, which was the shinobi village of the land of whirlpools. Why did she come here? Naruto wondered. If I remember it correctly, you knew about the Shodai Hokage's wife, Uzumaki Mito, didn't you? Hiruzen asks. Again, Naruto nodded. Your mother came here because Uzumaki Mito had become old, and she was in need of a replacement. Naruto looked sharply at the old man, wondering why he chose to word it like that. What only a few people know is that Mito-sama had sealed the Kyuubi within herself after Shodai-sama defeated the infamous Uchiha Madara. Your mother was selected because she had a particularly strong chakra, and was chosen to inherit Mito-sama's burden. She what? Naruto got angry. Incidentally, some of the Kyuubi's chakra started to leak out, also changing Naruto's eyes. Hiruzen put up his hand to stop the boy from talking any further. Mito-sama trained her in the ways of your clan, and when the time came, Mito-sama transferred the demon into a seal on your mother's body. Hiruzen continued, trying to ignore the betrayed look in the boy's eyes. He continued by telling Naruto how his mother had grown up in Konoha, how she had gone to the academy, how she had agreed to take over the burden, and how she still had a good life. What was her name? Naruto felt crushed by hearing that his mother had been a Jinchuriki just like him, but at least he was relieved that she had not experienced the same kind of hatred as he had. Uzumaki Kushina. Why did I never see her name in any record? That is complicated, Hiruzen sighed. I will continue with her story first. As I told you before, Kushina had fallen in love at a young age, and she eventually married that man. After some time, Kushina became pregnant of you, Naruto. The old man smiled when he thought back at the sight of the happy red-haired woman, who proudly proclaimed that the child she still had in her womb would become the next Hokage. We never knew what went wrong, how it could go astray. Hiruzen's voice nearly broke. We knew that pregnancy and childbirth were dangerous for a Jinchuriki, because the seal would be at its weakest due to the strain of childbirth. What exactly happened that day was never clarified. Kushina was brought to a protected place, along with guards and healers, but they were all killed. Even my wife, Bawako, died that day. Hiruzen swallowed away his tears. Kami, I have become so sentimental now that I stand in the face of my own death. But I cannot stop. I cannot falter. I must tell him. Despite the precautions, the Kyuubi broke free. There is reason to assume that it was abetted by someone else, but there never was any proof. What we do know is that the Kyuubi killed your mother, attacked the village, and in the process killed your father. Who was he? Your father was the greatest hero Konohagakure ever produced. He was Kushina's classmate, her best friend, her first crush, and ultimately her lover. And it is peculiar, but, though we saw him battle the Kyuubi, we never found his body. It is assumed every trace of him had disintegrated after the Kyuubi attacked him, but many suspect that this is a lie. Who was he? Naruto urged, already fearing the answer. He was so happy when Kushina became pregnant. I still remember how he dreamt of having a son, to play with him, to train him, and to have that child succeed him. Naruto, I know this is hard for you to bear, but, your father is my successor, the yellow flash who turned the tides of the previous war. Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage. A man precious to me as if he had been my own son. Naruto just sat there, stunned, and stared at the ground near his feet. He had slumped down in his chair, struggling to deal with this revelation. You mean, that bastard sealed the Kyuubi in his own son? Naruto panted, struggling to contain his rage. Had he been a bit calmer, he reacted differently, but the already thinning layer of patience that hid his constant rage could not take this revelation. And you saw him as your son? Then why did you abandon me to such a fate? If I were the son of Konoha's so-called greatest hero, why did I have to go through all that? Why was I abandoned like that? Hiruzen seemed to shrink at each word that Naruto threw at him. I knew that this knowledge would make him hate me. But he can hate me all he wants, I will step down anyway. I don't want this to form a wedge between him and Jiraiya, so I will take all the blame on me before I die. For the well-being of Konoha, I must ensure that the Jinchuriki remains loyal, no matter how much it hurts me. That man forced his infant son to bear the hatred of the Kyuubi. And you tell me that he is my father. He could have chosen anyone. Father. Naruto spat. I refuse to call that bastard my father. I will never bear his name, nor will I continue his legacy. I don't wish to be a monster like him. Naruto growled, not able to think rationally any longer. The only thing keeping him from losing control were the suppression seals which Jiraiya placed across his body, as well as the limiter Tsunade placed so that he couldn't use too much chakra. Regaining a little bit of his composure, Naruto recalled his childhood. Now I see why you told me all those stories about him when I was a kid. You wanted me to admire my father, and you even succeeded at that for a while. Tears of anger and sadness welled up in his crimson eyes. I practically worshipped him, all because of what you told me. He was everything I dreamed of becoming myself, right until I found out that he was responsible for what was done to me. Do you even know how betrayed I felt when I found out? Have I meant that little to you, Ji-san? He whispered, nearly begged. The ragged tone of his voice tore through Hiruzen's heart. The pain, the anger, but above all the betrayal, he could hear it in the voice of a boy who had not even reached his 13th birthday. Was I just a tool to you, for you to manipulate and mold as you wished? Naruto now cried openly, and shook his head in denial. I can't believe my mother loved such trash. Then again, she was a Jinchuriki, perhaps he just manipulated her as well. No, Naruto, you can't say that it is, Hiruzen wanted to protest, no matter how weak his voice was. He heart pounded, and his throat felt like it was too tight to even allow a speck of oxygen to pass through to the lungs. Don't talk to me as if you care, Naruto said angrily. The revelation of his father's identity broke restraints he had put in place so long ago. He had promised himself to never fool himself with impossible dreams, but he had underestimated how strong his own desire to know his parents had been. While Naruto lived in the orphanages, he always had dreamed that strangers would pick him up, claiming to be his family. While he lived among the Hyuga, he had absorbed every bit of knowledge he could find on the Uzumaki clan, and felt as if every little thing he learned brought him one step closer to his family, to his parents. Now the man who cursed him with his fate turned out to be the man in whom Naruto had seen his greatest hope. Moreover, this kind old man, his grandfather figure, had been the one to keep the truth from him, and even attempted to manipulate him. Naruto felt as if his heart had shattered. Is there no one I can trust? His desperate thoughts ran. Yes, one, his care was unconditional. Hyuga Haruki is my father, Naruto decided. I will carry on my mother's legacy, and his teachings. Namikaze Minato is merely my tormentor, and I will never acknowledge him as my family. Naruto wiped the tears of his face, and stomped out of the office. Before the heartbroken Hokage could even say a word, Kami, please give me the time to talk to him once more. I know that I had to tell him. Not telling him would only increase the dangers he still has to face. And I knew the consequences, But please, please, I don't want to leave these plains without his forgiveness, he thought as he did something he had not done in many years. Sarutobi Hiruzen cried. I am so sorry Minato, I failed you completely. Oi! Brat! Tsunade shouted, running to keep up with the boy who stormed out of the building. Finally catching up, Tsunade grasped him by the shoulder, only to see the hollow and desperate look in the boy's eyes. What the hell did that old goat tell you to get you to freak out like that? The truth. Tsunade looked at him and wondered what could have made such an impact on the boy. Hiruzen had told her that he would give the Uzumaki temple complex to the boy, and that she should show him around there. In the meantime, she had told Shizune to look after the old man, but she now thought that it was a mistake. Whatever sensei did to spook the brat like this, I don't think I'll let this one pass easily, she grumbled internally. Did you know about my parents? Again those eyes. Is this his problem? Tsunade wondered. I won't say I knew them very well. I left Konoha before you were born, Tsunade admitted. How many people knew? Naruto demanded angrily. How many lied to me? Well, aside from my perverted teammate, and my sensei, I don't know, it might be that Kakashi knew, Tsunade frowned. He is Minato's last surviving student, after all, she added upon seeing his look. Look kid, this was a matter which had been classified to an extreme degree. You cannot imagine what other villages would do if they knew, she looked around once more, checking if there really was no one within hearing range. This is the kind of thing that could create wars, kid. If Iowa knew, they would invade us without a second thought. And I bet the Raikage wouldn't mind helping them to settle the score either. The Yondaime was the most feared man of his generation. That fear led to the extermination of his family. Why else do you think he removed every record that contained references to your mother? Hell, he would have burned down the nation for her. Then why did he do this? He gestured to his stomach. To her child. Why did he condemn me to such a fate? The wild look in his eyes terrified her. I do not know kid, honestly, I wish I did, but no one knows exactly what happened that night. Well, no one but the fox that is sealed within you. He remained silent for several minutes, staring at the gray autumn skies. Tsunade knew he was conflicted about his father, and in hindsight she realized she should have known this in the first place. Jiraiya practically drowned himself in sake that night, and when I asked him why, he told me that Naruto hated Minato this much, while he was unable to tell him the truth as long as sensei forbade it. Oh, what a cruel twist of fate. Gently, she laid her hands on his shoulders. Listen, I know you are angry about this, even though I can hardly say that I would understand. I haven't gone through what you had to go through. But I knew Minato well enough to say that he never ever did anything without a reason. We don't know what happened to Kushina, or why the Kyuubi broke free. Minato was even more skilled than Jiraiya when it came to Fuinjutsu. It just makes no sense to think that anything could happen to Kushina's seal while he was around. But something did happen, and he needed to find a solution or the Kyuubi would have destroyed Konoha, either directly with its own claws, or indirectly once the other nations learned we lost control over it. And you have always known the inevitable truth. Only an Uzumaki can withstand the Kyuubi's corrosive chakra. Minato had no other option. Naruto looked up at the blonde woman, and his eyes betrayed his understanding, even though he wanted to remain angry. If anything, you should be angry at me, Tsunade sighed. Apart from your mother and you, I was the only known Uzumaki. If I had been there, I could have been the Jinchuriki instead of you. Then I would have faced all the hatred, not you. If only I had been. It is pointless now, Ba-chan. It happened. No one can change the past. Naruto swallowed away the lump in his throat. When are you ever going to stop with calling me granny? Tsunade grimaced. You are Uzumaki Mito's granddaughter, aren't you? That makes you part Uzumaki, and my family, Naruto chuckled, though there wasn't any genuine happiness in his voice at all. If Karen is my Nei-chan, you are my Ba-chan. Fine, it is not like I will ever win this. The gods know that you are as stubborn as Kushina. Let's go to your new property. I admit that I look forward to seeing it. I haven't been there since Mito Obasama passed away, Tsunade sighed. If this is his reason for calling me an old woman, I'll let it pass, but damn it, why does he have to look so similar to Nawaki? I could never stay angry with him either. Perhaps it is because they both are from Uzumaki blood. Sandaime-sama, one of the guards stepped out of the shadows in corner of the office, while Shizune entered to quickly run a diagnostic on the old man's heath situation. Rado, the old man replied wearily. Why didn't you obey? I have to protect you, Hokage-sama, even if it is from yourself. Namiyashi Rado defended his disobedience. Not that he had been extremely secretive about it, as Hiruzen had easily seen through his guard's disguise when he remained in the office. And you did not mind because you knew about my loyalty to Minato-sama. I did. He gestured to Shizune that he was fine and that he would like some privacy. Why didn't you tell us sooner? You know we swore our loyalty to Minato-sama. And what would you have done? What do you think the village would think if Minato's most loyal guards suddenly took in a blonde baby whose background was a mystery? It would have been a dead giveaway. And it would have been war all over again. Why do you think I never took the boy in my care? The further he was from us, the better his true heritage remained hidden, Hiruzen admitted, even though it hurt him that he allowed the boy to suffer for the good of the village. Rado sighed, and the wheel-like scare on his face rippled as the usually so calm man now scowled. But still we should have done something for the child. And we still can. What do you propose? Hiruzen sighed. Let me teach him, Rado demanded with a stern voice. Genma is dead and Iwashi is too young to have known Minato-sama. He did not swear the same oaths as I did. I know the truth, and I will teach him the Hiraishin no Jutsu. Hiruzen remained silent, looking pensively at the window panes. He hates Minato. Hiruzen was annoyed that he couldn't control his emotions. I knew this would happen, so why does it hurt so much? That will change. His emotions now. He was shocked and felt betrayed, but once he takes the time to think about it, he will know you did the best you could. He will see that Minato-sama did the best he could, Rado said calmly. Sandaime-sama, I swore my loyalty to Minato-sama. Therefore, I request to leave the Hokage guard platoon and instead serve Naruto as his guard, and whenever I can as his teacher. Hiruzen's eyes widened. Nothing goes as planned today, even Rado comes with surprises. Though, he definitely isn't the kind of person who makes these decisions on a whim. He is completely serious about this. I can see it in his eyes, he mused. That is not my decision to make, Rado. You know very well that I will not stay in this position for much longer. If you wish to leave your position, then you should take it up with my successor. As for Naruto's protection, until Tenzo has recovered from the mental damage he suffered, Enko will protect the boy. And you know well enough how fierce she can be when she needs to. And from what I see, she seems to like him as well. Besides, the guard platoon is already one man short, so you cannot resign right now. My successor will have to appoint new guards first. Rado nodded in agreement, even though he had his reservations. If Naruto leaves the protection of the Hyuga to live at the Uzumaki compound, I will join him. Whether your chosen successor agrees to this or not, I could not honor my oath because I was oblivious to the fact that Minato-sama had a child. But now that I know that this child is his son, I can no longer ignore my oath. Two men were in a dark room. One kneeled in front of his leader. Our tool failed, exactly as you predicted Danzo-sama, the root Anbu said. It is of no consequence. He was expendable, Danzo replied. The results were still better than anticipated. His outburst only showed the village he lacks proper control. I know my old friend is already scheming something, and I expect he will present his chosen successor soon. Don't you wish to oppose the candidate, Danzo-sama? It is pointless, because we still lack the proper leverage to gain a majority in the council. Danzo did not show any emotion, no matter how he felt slightly annoyed. The Hyuga have a bad habit of standing in the way of the goals of the root of Konoha. But our plans are in motion. Soon, the boy will be driven into our control. We have shown the village his weakness now. Soon, they will agree that he is too dangerous to allow him to roam free. Do you think it is wise to oppose the boy directly? He might not be very skilled yet, but the raw power he possesses. An enemy who hides his ability easily appears to be strong. Yet, when the mystery ends, the limitations become visible. Dealing with Uzumaki Naruto will not be as difficult as you think, Hyo. Order Sai to keep an eye on him. As you wish, the man bowed. Even in the worst case, there is always a failsafe. Perhaps that option is even better, Easier to control, Danzo mused. Bonus. An innocent Yamanaka. Shintention no jutsu, Ino declared. And then she felt her consciousness take over the tiny body. It had been so easy to lure Sakana, just offer him a fish and he would do anything for you. Daddy wasn't kidding when he said that taking over small animals was a weird experience. On one hand, it is relatively easy, as if the cats have weaker consciousness than humans, but on the other hand, controlling this tiny body is hard. And the tail. Maintaining balance with the tail will be something that takes time to become accustomed. Zero meowed as he saw his possessed brother stumble away. You walk like you have been drinking that sharp-smelling liquid again. Sakana. Oi. But Zero did not get a response. I know. Chi-sama will know how to deal with this. Asterisk. This is animal abuse. Asterisk. She grumbled, not so pleased that her subordinate got controlled. And you say that it is your master who does this. Asterisk. She and Zero looked down as Sakana awkwardly frolicked through the empty alley. Zero nodded. Then I suppose I shall say my greetings, because I know just the thing to repay this insolence. Asterisk. She jumped down and startled Sakana. Well, Ino. The possessed cat fell over in surprise, and quickly regained her footing. So, a little two-leg dares to abuse my subordinates. You know I can't let this one pass, don't you? She chuckled evilly. Faster than Ino could process, she dashed forward and slapped her on Sakana's head. That is Naruto's weird talking cat. Not good at all. Release. What is going on? Release. Ino started to panic. What is this? I cannot get out. That should keep you in your place for an hour or so, she smirked. Chi-sama, are you sure this is wise? Ino-sama will not like this. Zero meowed cautiously. She deserves this, Zero. We are cats, not guinea pigs. Asterisk. This might be a bit drastic. Asterisk. She merely smirked mischievously. Thank Kami I finally returned. I am so going to kill that cat. And Naruto along with it. I am sure he somehow thought that cat that weird seal. To think she could trap my mind in the body of someone else. I never even heard of such a thing. Fully intending on storming to the Uchiha district, Ino charged out of the room where she temporarily stayed. At that point Sakura saw her, and burst into tears of laughter. Ino was left speechless by the sight. What is going on? She eventually said. Your hair, look in the mirror, Sakura snorted, failing badly in her attempts to control her laughter. She saw red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, and all the colors in between. Ino's mouth fell open when she saw that her blonde hair had been painted in every color she could think of. That cat did that. I will kill that cat, she mumbled. Cat. Sakura frowned. You haven't been drinking my dad's sake, have you? I will murder that malicious feline, Ino said so menacingly that the Haruno stepped back in fear. Chapter 45. The Hidden Compound. Tsunade wondered how quickly Naruto's moods could change. When he left the office, he had been both furious and woeful due to the information that the Sandaime Hokage had given him. She knew that Naruto would be angered, and could somewhat understand it, as his father had been none other than the man responsible for all the hatred he faced. But after she managed to dampen his fury a little, he had shown a pensive expression she had never expected to see on a boy his age. Then again, he never had a normal childhood, between the hatred he faced from the village and the demon he has within him. I can hardly imagine how much the painful experiences forced him to grow up. Still, to see such an old expression on such a young face, I haven't seen such a look since the last World War, that traumatized look. Sensei, why did you tell him now? It is obvious he wasn't ready for such a burden yet. This child doesn't need another problem added to his already long list of burdens, she sighed. Third alley on the left, she directed him. They were headed toward the property that belonged to the Uzumaki clan. After all, with the discovery of a second Uzumaki survivor in the form Uzumaki Karen, Sarutobi Hiruzen had deemed it wise to return the property to their ownership. Still, it was a bit out of the way, near the outer walls of Konoha. It was situated on, or into, for some parts, the same mountain side in which the giant stone faces of the four Hokage were carved, to look down at the village. But at the same time, The compound was surrounded by forest, at least the part which was situated down the mountain. There had been some buildings in a large private training ground up the mountain, but according to the documents which Tsunade had seen prior to Hiruzen's meeting with Naruto, those buildings had all been destroyed by the Kyuubi's onslaught. Ba-chan, why did you leave the village? Naruto startled the woman with a sudden question. I was tired of the endless cycle of death and destruction. I wanted to get away from all that sorrow. You lost those dear to you. Naruto already nude you to Jiraiya. I did, Tsunade admitted with a pained expression. And that is why you left. Tsunade looked at him and realized he didn't fall for the easy answer. Partly, she admitted. I blamed Konoha for sending out my kid brother to a mission he shouldn't have taken. I blame Konoha for the death of Dan, who took too much risk. They sacrificed themselves for the sake of the village, so by our common definition they would be heroes. Naruto couldn't keep the sarcasm out of his voice. If dying is heroic, we created a lot of heroes in all the wars and our countless battles, Tsunade scoffed. But oddly, those who profit most from the bloodshed never have to risk their necks in the field. You blame Ji-san and the council. Yes. But, also myself, Tsunade sighed. You think you should have saved them, Naruto deduced. If only I had been on time, if only I had been faster, Tsunade had a sad grimace. I saved so many lives, yet I failed the ones that I loved most. You shouldn't be so harsh on yourself. Their deaths were not your fault. They weren't even the fault of those who killed them. It is our system that drives us to slaughter each other. Naruto frowned, the dark and pensive look still in his cold blue eyes. A world where people become tools. A world where the elderly send the young out to die, so that they can amass more wealth and power. A world where a father would use his infant son to imprison a demon. Tell me, did you ever hear how the Yondaime Kazekage sealed the Ikibi inside Gaara? Tsunade shook her head. Before Gaara was even born, while he was little more than an embryo in his mother's womb, he became a Jinchuriki. Apparently the Kazekage thought that it would be a good experiment. Good enough to sacrifice his unborn son, good enough to kill his wife. It seems to be a habit of cages. Minato never would do such a thing. Tsunade protested. Everything for the sake of the village, isn't that their motto? Naruto looked up at the blonde. It seems our leaders would gladly destroy the world, if it be in the best benefit of their village. I mean, if this is what they can do to their children, I would be frightened when I consider what they could do to strangers. You should be careful, kid, because that sounds dangerously close to treachery. And with your position as Jinchuriki. Why do you think I say such things to you? You're the one with the questionable loyalty here, Naruto chuckled humorlessly. Even though Ji-san and Ero Sennin hoped differently. Tsunade scowled but was unable to counter that statement. In fact, she knew that many questioned her loyalty, and if she was honest, so did she. Dan and Naoki dreamed of becoming Hokage, yet when Sensei offered me the position I knew I wasn't up for the task. And this brat just pointed that out, he is surprisingly smart. A Hokage should be more than a mindless slave, who merely executes the tasks which the village demands to be done. A Hokage should protect a village, even from itself. What is a village, if not a part of this world? Frankly, I fail to see the point of why Shodai-sama even created the system of the hidden villages. It only shifted the limits of our thinking, and never erased it. The only thing that changed was that instead of clans that fight, it is now villages which fight. It isn't the system that should have changed, but mankind itself. He intended to end the era of war between the clans, and to bring, it seems the villages indeed have long forgotten my grandfather's dreams about peace. It is still us versus them, Tsunade agreed. We moved from an era where clans waged war, to an era where villages wage war. They left the last streets and entered a small forest near the edge of Konoha, but before Konoha's walls. The Shodai Hokage had great dreams, but underestimated the darkness within the hearts of humans. From what I learned from the history books, he was too naive. I mean, look at me, and how the village sees me. Was that his dream? Is it a bad thing to have hope? Perhaps not, but if I talk to someone and that person acts very friendly, nearly everyone else would accept that this person is actually friendly. But because of the Kyuubi, I feel the seeds of darkness within their hearts. I sense the malice they intend to spread, the hatred, the greed they want to satisfy. Tell me, Ba-chan, if I see the world as it is, why should I fool myself by thinking humanity would change? Naruto admitted the doubts which the Kyuubi had sown in his heart. Then why did you feel so betrayed just now? Naruto looked down and remained silent. Because I underestimated the pain that people can inflict with good intentions, he nearly whispered. You know Sensei is dying. Are you really that angry at him, or can you forgive him? If you talk about darkness, you shouldn't be so unforgiving and selfish yourself, either. I can forgive, but I won't forget, Naruto sighed. You are right about his reasons to keep it all classified, but still, why did he have to manipulate me like that? Why did he insist on making me admire the man who caused all my pain, the man he knew was my father? No one is perfect, kid. Everyone messes up sooner or later. And Sensei is old and ruled the village for a long time. I don't even want to know how many impossible choices he has been forced to make. But are you going to condemn him for his flaws? Can you really expect him to be perfect? Grant him some peace of mind before he passes away. Don't start grudges against him over a choice that not he but your father made. Do you want to be governed by the same hatred you see in others? You should have been an academy teacher, Naruto grumbled. She had a similar ability like Iruka. Talk him into a corner where the only thing left to do was to admit. Fine, I'll go see Ji-san. He can't help what the Namikaze did. Tsunade smiled, and patted him on his head. Good boy. You might become Hokage material after all. Who knows, perhaps you will even forgive your father one day. Perhaps you will be able to get to know the truth from the Kyuubi, and learn what truly happened, the day you were born. He may have had a damn good reason, Naruto scowled. Not that that rotten fox is going to tell me anything. Nor will I trust it. It would only like to piss me off, so that it can try to escape again. Perhaps it is better not to axe, Tsunade agreed. I sure as hell wouldn't want to face that demon myself. Let Jiraiya deal with this, it's between his student and his godson after all, so he'll know best how to handle this. The path through the small edge of forest had become rather dilapidated over the years, and Tsunade made a mental note that this was one of the many things that needed to be fixed. Then again, it wasn't the most important thing on the extensive list. The reports made it seem like half of the property was shot to hell though. Good thing the kid is loaded with his inheritance. Though, I'll tell him that after he sees the buildings, Tsunade smirked at the thought of seeing his disillusioned face. I definitely need something to distract him from what Sensei told him. And knowing that he has a compound to rebuild could give some sense of direction to his life. A clear goal to work towards. The path ended, and the two blondes stood before an elaborate torii. Looking around him, Naruto noticed the barrier. So this is the only way in. Only those of Uzumaki blood, like me, or those people who are officially allowed, such as the ruling Hokage, have permission to enter these grounds. All the others are repelled. Even those who are allowed to enter, but are under a genjutsu or other controlling jutsu, cannot enter. It's a pretty amazing piece of work. Then again, the Uzumaki never were a people that delivered half-assed work when it came to fuinjutsu, especially not for barriers like these. Allowed to enter. It's a scroll where you can. Ah well, you'll see it eventually. Oba-sama left a pretty extensive description on the working of this barrier. Your mother wasn't the most focused person, so Mito Basama never really knew if the kid truly understood something or not. Ah well, she was a kid back then, so who could blame her? A scatterbrain like me. I won't say she was that bad, Tsunade grinned. Let's get in. Pouting a bit after Tsunade had had her fun, Naruto followed the woman inside. This barrier really is a piece of work. Only this section of the torii serves as an entrance. I bet the rest is pretty much impenetrable. It would be a perfect place to stay and train if Ero Sennin accepts to become Hokage. It would certainly be nice to have a place where I don't have to worry about intruders. Naruto considered the benefits of living in such a closed-off compound. This construction is called a torii. When Oba-sama came to Konoha, the Uzumaki clan insisted on making this temple here. Oba-sama said that it was because the clan always created such a temple in any permanent residence of our clan members, and this temple was created as a symbol of the bond between Konoha and Uzushiogakure, Tsunade lectured. These torii are from a rare kind of tree that only grew in the land of whirlpools itself. As they passed through the torii that marked the entrance, Naruto couldn't help but be awed. The intricate patterns that covered the wooden posts were amongst the most advanced he had ever seen. And the sheer size of the object only made him appreciate the skill of his fallen brethren even more. Past the torii, Naruto and Tsunade walked on top of a wooden platform, and Naruto noticed that was built on top of the large pond that started after the torii. The pond led to a small bridge that spanned from the platform to the small cabin on top of the large boulder at the center of the pond. From there, Naruto saw another bridge leading to his right, but inside the cabin was also a path downstairs. This was the path Tsunade chose. Walking down, Naruto saw that there was a lower bridge leading to the right of the pond. Where are we going? Naruto wondered. The temple itself is on the plateau on our left, but that area was damaged when the Kyuubi attacked. Where we are going is up there. She pointed at the broad building latched to the mountainside. That building contains the living quarters, master bedroom, guest rooms, and a large shared kitchen and dinner room. My grandmother lived there, as she preferred to seclude herself. Her burden made her dislike many people. So my mother lived here as well. She was trained here by Mito Obasama, yes. And before she married, Kushina lived here. Hey, is Naruto here? Konkuro. Why are you looking for Nisan? Karen was the only one of the three struggling girls who replied. Struggling, because the simple theoretical introduction to Fuinjutsu Naruto had compiled for them was anything but simple. Well, considering how he is formally our guard, I wanted to ask permission to get into town. And I'd rather ask him than that crazy woman. Isn't Kiba-kun somewhere? Hinata mumbled rather distractedly. Kiba-kun is in his room. Karen's frown immediately turned into a smile. I am a censor, so I have to keep a close eye on my surroundings, right? She reasoned, not willing to admit that she constantly kept track of where Kiba was located. Right, I guess I'll ask him then. Konkuro backed away carefully. Tenten sighed in exasperation. I hope Naruto returns soon. This talk about a hard corner and a soft corner in ceiling patterns is impossible to understand. What? Karen blinked. I must admit that I haven't gone past page 5 yet. 9. Hinata grumbled in a do not disturb so shut up kind of voice. Tenten looked a bit bewildered, and decided to keep it to herself that her issue only started on page 17. This is amazing. Tsunade chuckled when she saw Naruto had smiled wider than she had ever seen before. Can I really live here? Well, this place would be yours and Karen's, yes. But you haven't seen the best room yet. What? I thought you were joking about this guest room thing. Each room is better than my cottage at the Hyuga compound. You haven't seen the master bedroom yet. Your mother's room, Tsunade smiled. Though, I have to warn you, because it is a little messy. Kushina was always a bit chaotic, much unlike Minato, and after she moved out, no one ever came here. Well, I did, when sensei told me he'd give the place to you, but otherwise, I'm no cleaner anyway. I'm glad I take after my mom, Naruto remarked grimly. Just as Tsunade had said, the master bedroom was larger than the other rooms. Like the others, this room had its own bathroom, and was just as dusty from 12 years of being uninhabited. Well, probably even longer, because Kushina had not used this room often since she married Minato. But it was nothing that a few clones couldn't solve. What was more shocking to Naruto were his clan's symbols that were everywhere in the room. On a large green board behind the double bed, on the wardrobes, on the side table, everywhere Naruto saw little things of his clan. And the most interesting piece was a large painting on the wall in the back. The light through the windows gave him a perfect view of the still life painting of a large village in a lush environment. A river ran right through the village, over which spanned several bridges, and mountains and steep hills were seen in the background. But the village itself was very different from Konoha. There were multiple high-rise buildings, relatively close together, and it did not give the impression of a shinobi village at all. Naruto could not see any defenses at all. But the caption left little room for doubt. This was what Uzushiogakure looked like, before its destruction. What Naruto and Tsunade looked at was the village of longevity, the home of the Uzumaki clan, and the only place in the land of whirlpools where many people lived concentrated at one place. The painting would almost give the impression that the nation was rather industrial, but Tsunade told Naruto that the opposite was true. The people of the Uzumaki clan were rather averse to organizations and hierarchy. The clan did not like to live in a strictly organized city. So, the majority of the population was spread out over the island. Mito Obasama often told me that her life withdrawn from Konoha was something that was perfectly normal in Uzushio. In fact, many people who owned an apartment or flat in Uzushio only used that when an assembly was inevitable because Uzushio did house the government of the island. She often stared at this painting, and sometimes she admitted being a little homesick. Is this all gone now? How? No one really knows what happens to Uzushiogakure. It happened during the chaos of war, not too long after Kushina came here, Tsunade sighed. All contact with Uzushio was lost, and only a handful of survivors was left. There are more. Well, Kushina lived because she was in Konoha, and I suspect that Karen's parents survived due to similar circumstances. I can't say whether there are more members of your clan left, but whoever launched that attack would surely have tried to finish the extermination of the Uzumaki clan. If anyone survived, they would have hidden themselves very well. Tsunade turned towards Naruto, and gave him a sad smile. Let's go see the temple, alright. How did the Kyuubi even attack this place? I mean, wouldn't the barriers have kept him away? Perhaps, but that wouldn't have been the issue, Tsunade sighed. She pointed up the mountainside. Up there were originally more buildings that belonged to the Uzumaki compound. They were guarded by the same barrier. Yes, with her status of Jinchuriki, and the dangers that giving birth to you put her in, she was taken to one of the buildings up there. You were born there, she smiled. And my parents died there. Well, from what I heard, you and your mother were found at a different location. No one knows what happened though, she sighed. Tsunade gestured at the old wooden doors of the temple. Shall we? As they walked through the old building, Naruto couldn't ignore the feeling that he knew this place. The wooden floor creaked under their feet as they moved through the hall towards the large room at the back of the temple. That larger room was strange, not only because of the strange sensation Naruto felt when he set foot in the room, but also because he had a strong feeling that he should remember this place. He looked around and felt confused by what he saw. Masks. Naruto mumbled under his breath. On the wall at the back of the room, there was a small platform, and on the wall, below the decaying curtains that were hanging above, Naruto saw the strangest masks he had ever seen. I've been here before. When that man from Kumo kidnapped Hinata and me, all those years ago, he brought us here. Tsunade frowned, and remained silent for a few moments as she thought about how this could have happened. I think the three of you could have come here because of you, Naruto. Well, it's rather weird being back here after all these years. Naruto looked around, and eventually found what he was looking for. The shards of the broken mask he had worn to become undetectable. With these shards, I might be able to figure out how the missing part of the seal really worked. I took the largest piece of the mask with me back then, and managed to replicate the seal, but the chakra drain is a bit excessive. Perhaps now I could make the stealth seal actually usable. Naruto, I must warn you about these masks. Ba-chan. Oba-sama told me that only the rightful owner of the shrine may come close to these masks, and considering how you are Kushina's son, I would bet that is you now. But I would advise you never to carelessly experiment with these things. It is said that they are cursed, Tsunade told him. Many of them do feel wrong, Naruto agreed. Most of the rubble had been cleared after the Kyuubi attacked, but it would take time to properly rebuild this compound. Due to the restricted access, only few may enter. And because Konoha was rebuilding, Sensei did not have time to rebuild this area. When was he going to tell me this place was mine? You may be legally an adult in many aspects, due to your rank, but many things are still not allowed for those underage. And legally, while you are not either Jonin or at least 18 years old, you cannot be a clan head. And the latter would require significant support from the other clans as well. And thus I couldn't inherit my clan's compound. But why can I do so now? And what about my mother? Kushina didn't live here all by herself. She had several servants living here, who also had taken care of Mito Obasama. But they all died the day you were born. As for why you can live here now, the regulations I gave before are not really precise. In fact, Aside from the Uchiha clan's heir who lives alone on his compound, there hasn't really been a precedent for your situation. But with your promotion to Chunin, and the discovery of another Uzumaki, Sensei pushed the decision through the council. Gay, yeah, now that the truth is out, I bet the Hyuga aren't too reluctant about ditching me, Naruto smirked. I meddled a bit in the internal politics, he added, when he saw Tsunade didn't understand. So that is why Hiashi agreed so easily, Tsunade realized. She had found it a little odd that he would give up his position. Having the village's Jinchuriki living on your grounds did bring some additional political leverage. But apparently the burdens outweighed the benefits now. This place is awesome though. I can understand why Mito-sama would gladly live here. Away from all the hatred. Tenten yawned and stretched. Well, I'm going now. I promised to help my dad in the shop, so I can't stay the entire day. We will make sure that Nisan teaches us properly tomorrow, a frustrated Karen replied. And don't forget to share the news. Hinata's plan is actually pretty awesome. Hey, I was the one who reminded you three, Enko shouted out. And where is Dusty? Weren't you here to keep an eye on Gara-san, Enko-san? Hinata wondered. Meh, don't bore me with details. Use those pretty eyes of yours. He is in his room, either sleeping or meditating. He really loves to take a nap, doesn't he? Well, I hear the Aikibi attacked him when he slept, so I bet he has a lot of sleep to catch up now that the Gaki fixed his seal. And it makes your job way too easy. A deceptively calm Akko left the hall. Here, she threw a broomstick at the snake mistress, go clean. So strict. I bet Uruka likes when you're strict with. Enko was cut off when Akko glared at her. I didn't say anything. Enko put up her hands in defeat. Not yet at least, Karen snickered. I'll go out and talk to the others. Hinata threw her study material aside. She came to the conclusion that Fuinjutsu was surprisingly difficult. Naruto-kun made it seem so easy. On their way back, Naruto felt a little overwhelmed with all the events of this day. Oh, before I forget, Sensei also said that there is a sum of money left by Minato and Kushina. It isn't that much, because their house and most of their belongings were destroyed that night, but it should be enough to repair and replace whatever is needed for the Uzumaki compound. I mean, most of the structures are kept in place with oak crossbeams which fit into holes chiseled into the cliffs. Some of those crossbeams might need to be replaced. And those crossbeams and the support structure itself might not be completely safe right now. Not to mention the repairs for the temple. Yes, Sensei said that he wasn't sure if you wanted the place, so he wanted you to decide whether or not to spend those funds on the compound. I will. I don't care much for the upper levels, but the living area should be solid, and the temple is important as well. What is left could be spent on the upper levels. You saw the stairs leading up, on the right of the temple. Yes, it looked rather shoddy. That building served as storage for food, water, and all other goods. Nobody has been up there since the Kyuubi attacked, but there is a chance that there are still seals or barriers active up there. But, Sensei made a pretty extensive description of the place, so most information can be found there. Thanks, Ba-chan, Naruto smiled at his blonde relative. For everything. This day has been crazy. At least you stopped me from doing something I might have regretted. I hardly did anything, Tsunade scoffed. Have a little faith in yourself. How can I, Ba-chan? You don't know what I am becoming. If those seals weren't restraining me, I don't even want to think of what I could have done to Ji-san. Naruto's smile became a bit sad. Perhaps. But doubt has kept me alive up till now. Don't you want to know what happened to the Namikaze clan? Those bastards never looked after me, so no. They couldn't have, Naruto. The Namikaze clan was a small and rather unremarkable clan before your father rose through the ranks. They were so proud of Minato, and yet he became the death of them. The shinobi of the clan were targeted and killed one by one during missions. The rest of the clan fell to the hands of assassins. Jiraiya once told me that one baby survived, but even he didn't know who it was. Though, he was kinda drunk when he let that slip. I do know for sure that the rest of the clan was annihilated. The world was trembling in fear due to your father's prowess, and they took it out on his family. Naruto saw the pained expression on Tsunade's face. Is that why there are hardly any members of the Senju clan left? Yes, Tsunade admitted. We suffered the same fate. Or perhaps it was even worse, because in their time, both grandfather and uncle were legends throughout the world. My family was murdered or kidnapped for other purposes, which I don't want to imagine. The few that were left alive abandoned the Senju name and hid their heritage. Yet still there are a few who carry my clan's blood. But only a few, compared to the days before our clan disbanded. But hiding amongst Konoha's population was the only way to survive. Even those strong enough not to fear any assassin would still hide for the sake of their loved ones. Look at Minato's family. Or Sarutobi sensei's eldest. Tsunade sighed. Those bloodlines with exceptional qualities have always been feared. And when truly remarkable people rose up, it often meant that their relatives were equally feared. Because everyone knew that there was a chance that particular ability could resurface in that person's kin. So it is customary to target them. Why do you think Minato and Kushina went to such lengths to hide the fact that they were married, or that she was pregnant? They both had seen their clans being wiped out to near extinction. Truthfully, if I hadn't met Jiraiya a few years ago, I wouldn't have even known that Minato and Kushina had a kid. I mean, I left years before you were born. Our world sucks. Come, I'll treat you some sake. Ba-chan. What? It really helps you when you try to forget about all this shit. I'd rather find a more productive way to protect my family. Though I doubt Karen would be targeted because of me. I mean, my power comes from the Kyuubi, not from some bloodline ability. The proficiency in Fuinjutsu was what made the Uzumaki clan so feared, just look at how good Minato became at it. I can assure you that Kushina really had her hand in that. Perhaps, but Karen doesn't know such things yet. And my skill at it is probably also mostly unknown. I mean, even with the stuff I did during the final round of the Chunin exams, I still didn't show the craziest skills I found in the scrolls. Still, people might target her because she is your newfound sister, Tsunade warned him. So always be careful at what you do. Be careful who you oppose. Shinobi work from the shadows for very good reasons. Not just to protect yourself, but also those close to you. I mean, what if someone went after that Hyuga girl because of you? Naruto halted, and turned to face her. I will not allow that to happen, he said icily. Never. You really care about her, don't you? Tsunade smiled. She is the first friend I made. Well, besides Jii-san and Ero-senin of course, but they are way older. Hinata was the first one of my age who didn't treat me like, well, like how I was used to being treated. She's only a friend. Tsunade smirked. She's my teammate. And, she is different. Oh, that's how kids call it these days. What? I didn't mean. Naruto began to protest, but Tsunade just laughed at him and pulled him in a hug. Cherish your friends, Gaki, she smiled at the now thoroughly confused Naruto. You'll figure out what you feel for her one day. Or what she feels for you. Feels for me. What do you mean? Perhaps I'll tell you, but only if you stop calling me Ba-chan. What? Why? To be called Oni-chan is much more befitting for a woman in the full glory of her youth, Tsunade proclaimed proudly. That's exactly why I call you Ba-chan. Ba-chan, Naruto replied with a deadpan expression. Why you? Tsunade's forehead was now decorated with a bulging vein. Both blondes could be seen laughing as the Senju princess chased the Uzumaki heir through the village. Tsunade knew that he needed to vent some of his emotions. Gaara-san, can I ask you something? Hinata still felt a little awkward around the former psychopathic murderer. She observed a nod, but Gaara did what Hinata hated most when talking to others. He remained silent and spoke as little as he could. It reminded her very much of her father, and therefore she associated it with disapproval, and it made her hesitate all the more. Do you know why Naruto-kun is so silent? Naruto-san seems agitated, he remarked dryly. You seem to know him better than I do, Hinata-san. I don't know, Hinata sighed, and felt incapable. I thought it might have been related to the Kyuubi. And that I, as a Jinchuriki, would understand. Yes. Gaara shrugged, and focused on the few grains of sand in his hands. Well, the Kyuubi does cause problems. But I do not think that is the reason. For the first time Hinata saw something resembling hesitation on Gaara's stoic visage. At the same time, he saw she didn't understand. It is hard to explain. What is it like, to be a Jinchuriki? Gaara looked a bit confused. No one ever asked him questions, they just ran away. Ever since his uncle perished, Naruto had been the first to treat him differently. He had given him a chance to be differently. And while Tamari acted relieved, Gaara knew very well that his brother still had his reservations. But considering the things he had done, he couldn't blame him. But this girl, she didn't treat him like something different. Yes, she was anxious, but she seemed nervous around most people. But to ask him questions like this, unexpected. Unexpected. Hinata wondered how being a Jinchuriki could be unexpected. Your question. No one ever asks it before. And I doubt anyone asked Naruto as well. But why? You are important. Gaara smiled weakly, and watched the grains of sand float in the specific patterns he commanded them to. We are not important, we are necessary. That is why we are tolerated, not as humans, but as weapons. That is why no one understands. Some of his old anger started to mix in his gravelly voice and he lost control over his grains of sand. We stand on the precipice, from which the Biju wish to drag us down, while the humans do not care to help us maintain our balance. Not everyone would stand by idly, Hinata said hesitantly. Perhaps. There are a few, like my sister and you yourself, who try to understand. I do not know if Inuzuka-san and Karen-san truly understand, but at least they treat us normally as well. And others, such as my brother, can't really look past their fears. But this household is a bit odd, even if it is just temporary, it is pleasant. He sighed, and tried again to make the tiny grains follow his mental commands. Hinata remained silent and watched, intrigued by the display. Jiraiya-sama suggested that attempting to perfectly control only a few grains would be the best training for me, Gaara explained, not really comfortable that anyone paid attention to him. While I cannot focus on quantity, he suggested I had to focus on quality. And it requires you to remain calm, Hinata deduced. A certain cat chose this moment to join the conversation. Dusty Two-Leg found a great way to blind opponents. If he could cast a single grain of sand into someone's eye, it would form a great distraction. The two looked a bit curiously at the feline. What? I can be serious if I want to be. Gaara just shook his head in denial. And this time, Hinata agreed. Hinata went out to search, and eventually found Naruto. It was 2 days since he had seen his clan's compound, and ever since then he had acted a little strangely. Now withdrawn and silent, Naruto barely spoke unless spoken to, and he was rather distracted. He was to be found sitting on top of the roof of their temporary residence at the Uchiha district. Apparently he was in deep meditation, because he did not respond to anything she said. I'll wait here until you wake up, she sighed. She really wanted to know if she could help him with whatever was bothering him so much, but she was determined to do what she could. Naruto leaned back against the massive pillar of iron. It was one of the massive bars that imprisoned the Kyuubi, and Naruto just used it as a support to lean again. Much to the Kyuubi's mistrust, because he had never seen anyone turn his back on him. I don't get it, Fox, the blonde sighed. You always try to piss me off. You know how much I hated that bastard. Why didn't you tell me he was my father? The colossal Biju looked down at the boy who sat just outside his prison. Why should I have told you? You use my hatred and anger to control me. You knew what happened the day I was born. You knew that he was my father, and I bet you hate him for imprisoning you inside me, so I just don't get it. Why didn't you use that to piss me off? You actually want me to anger you. The demon chuckled darkly. What happened that day? The Kyuubi grimaced. If I am not mistaken, I told you once before that I hardly remember anything from that day. Still, you knew about the Namikaze, didn't you? Quote. Fine, Naruto sighed. It's not like I expected you to be very cooperative anyway. Not after your recent attempts to break free. Why would a prisoner and a warden trust each other? The nine-tailed demon remarked dryly. I will start trusting you when I am free. Wow, what a comforting thought. You'll start trusting me when I die. Just great. And here I thought you would eventually start to see that we are both prisoners. So much for pleasantries. You can just keep rotting here for all I care. Naruto sneered at the demon as he moved out. With a deep breath, Naruto woke up from his meditation. Blind bastard, he suddenly snarled, unaware of the startled Hyuga at his side. Hinata, what are you doing up here? Ah, I was concerned. Hinata blushed, secretly happy that it had already become late enough for her embarrassment to be hidden in darkness. Well, she thought so, but Naruto's eyes were better accustomed to such conditions. Not that he would tell her, knowing full well that any remark on her blushing only made things worse. Though she mostly got over that habit of fainting, he mused. I had some things to discuss with Mr. Big and Fuzzy. He patted his stomach. Nothing to be worried about. She, on her end, saw just as clearly as during the day. When activated, the Byakugan wasn't blind in the darkness either. And she saw clearly that Naruto was lying. What happened? These last few days, you acted so. Naruto sighed. Those eyes of yours are really getting better by the day, aren't they? I should congratulate Hitomi-sama next time I see her, he smiled gently. But yes, there are a few things that could be qualified as troublesome. Did you find something at the compound? No, not really, Naruto frowned. Though I guess I could say yes, at the same time. My mother lived there. The old man told me who my parents were, he admitted hesitantly. Hinata gasped, but then she realized that he was conflicted about this knowledge. But isn't it a good thing to know who your parents are? Naruto leaned back and stared at the face of his father in the Hokage monument. It is nice to know who my mother is, he eventually said. No, I'll have to keep that a secret. Though I trust her more than anyone else, none should know who my father is. Not yet at least. Who was she? Hinata was a bit confused why he refused to talk about his father like that. Uzumaki Kushina. She was brought here as my predecessor, so to speak. His grim expression made Hinata shudder, and the realization of the meaning behind his words quickly followed. Though it also saved her, I suppose. She did escape the annihilation of our clan by coming to Konoha, after all. What was she like? I can show you some pictures. There were a few left in her room at the compound. I can show them to you tomorrow if you like. I'd like that. Hinata stumbled over her words, startled by the offer he made. But what about your father? She said after gathering the courage to ask about the subject she guessed was causing him pain. I'd rather not talk about that man, he replied with a definitive tone. It's late. I think it is time for us to retire. Oh, okay. Good night, Naruto-kun. Hinata couldn't help but feel disappointed. And I apologize for. Don't. There is only one person who I blame, and that isn't you. He is dead, that is the only reassurance that I have. She saw the rage he tried to hide. The growing rage he had to contain, although it grew nevertheless. And she felt sad. It must be difficult to live as a Jinchuriki. Not just how the people treat him, but also the demon itself. Gaara-san said he felt as if the Ikibi tried to eat his soul away when he slept. And Naruto-kun said the Kyuubi is even stronger. I'm glad that everyone agreed, she mumbled to herself. Perhaps it will cheer Naruto-kun up a little. Danzo-sama. Report. They said that they want to wait first, the blonde root operative informed his master. Ah, yes, regrettable but it was to be expected. There is no immediate threat to them anymore, so I expected them to wait. Besides, I did not count on getting their support before Hiruzen handed the issue to the council for voting. Do you wish for us to take action against the other candidates? Knowing Hiruzen, he would either have the Senju princess or that fool Jiraiya to succeed him. Neither of them should be confronted at this point in time. No, I think Tsunade would be his first choice, as she would have an easier time of getting the council's support. But the fool is most likely the most skilled of the two. We shall keep an eye on them. But keep your distance, Danzo warned. They earned their reputations for good reasons. In the meanwhile, I have a more delicate job for you, Fu. The blonde root operative looked up at his master. Delicate, Danzo-sama. I need to get access to someone close to the Kyuubi. Amongst his classmates, there is one who might be more easily swayed. Unlike those from the clans. Find a way to convince her of our ways, although you should set it up in such a way that we are the only option she has left. This is not a matter that should leak out. As you wish, Danzo-sama, Yamanaka Fu bowed. Though on his way out, he scanned through the folder, and wondered how useful his niece's friend could be. Eliminate if you cannot ensure her complete loyalty, Fu read. Possible threat. Haruno Kazashi. Details can be found in appendix. Yes, Fu quickly realized why his master declared this a highly sensitive issue. But the potential reward would be equally high. Having a mole near the Kyuubi would be very useful. Ah, only one more week of being in custody, Anko smiled during breakfast. So, Yamato-san will return. Naruto guessed. Yes, he finally got his lazy ass out of the hospital. Hospital. Oh crap, why did you blurt that out? Think before you speak. Anko, think. He isn't supposed to find out that Itachi was here, she silently scolded herself. Something went wrong while he was on a mission. Well, that means we have to hurry up a bit if we only have 1 week to clean this place up, Akko smirked evilly. What do you mean? I do all the work here. Why do you keep punishing me? Anko's fake tears rolled over her cheeks. And the award for Best Actress goes to, she spoke up. Shut it, you little dango thief. Gaara grimaced a little. Why do you two always have to be so loud? It is worse than Temari's first contact with espresso. Said by the coffee addict himself. How could I know that stuff was so strong? You didn't need to drink an entire mug of that stuff, all at once, Kankuro agreed with his little brother. At least she didn't kill people, Naruto chuckled and Anko's mouth made a small, oh. Point taken, Gaara said with his usual deadpan expression. Oh, and if you guys want to go to the festival, perhaps Anko wants to accompany you too. She has guard duty. Akko destroyed the newest spark of hope for the snake mistress to escape from her servitude. But I assume that Kiba and Hinata-sama would gladly join you. We will ask them when they return, Temari said. Kiba and Karen were out to walk the dog, while Hinata had to return home for lessons with her mother in the morning. Well, even though everyone besides Naruto knows that we won't need to ask. Oh, that's right, you're going with Iruka-sensei, aren't you? Naruto smirked. Akko, who had just been taking a sip of her morning coffee, choked and coughed. What? Did you really think that Iruka-sensei could sneak into this compound without me noticing it? I left that gap in the barriers for a good reason, because only someone with the Byakugan would have found it. Anko suddenly whistled, and the heavily embarrassed Akko blushed and remained silent. Only Gaara completely missed the point. Then again, he had a thing or two he needed to learn about human interaction. Whisker two-leg, it is dangerous to embarrass females when mating rituals are involved, she remarked. Although her attempt to warn Naruto was genuine, it pushed Akko just one step too far. Mating rituals. What are you? Akko stopped, and realized what the cat was talking about. And then Akko's fuses blew. She moves remarkable fast for a civilian, Anko frowned, watching as the furious Hyuga chased the cat. She's still a Hyuga, even though she had little talent for being a shinobi due to her limited chakra reserves. But believe me when I say that she is scary by default. Serious, never piss her off. Naruto started to sweat a little when he thought back at the last time he crossed the line. Tell me about it. All I did was torture that kid a little, and she still blames me for it. All you people from Konoha are insane, aren't you? Kankuro wearily shook his head. Well, stalking him is rather uneventful, Kidomaru yawned. Not if the silver-haired piece of trash is around. He nearly noticed me the other day, Tayuya voiced her annoyance in her own uniquely subtle way. Why are we all here? He's bound to come here any moment now, Jirobo remarked. The Sound Four stood at Sasuke's training ground at the Uchiha compound. That's the plan, you dense fatso, Tayuya wasn't patient enough to explain it before. We're going to confront that pussy. Oh, okay, Jirobo shrugged. Not that I really care. I wonder why Orochimaru-sama didn't just order us to capture those eyes. I mean, besides the eyes, that piece of trash isn't worth much. There are orders and we follow them. Sakin cut off the other three before the same discussion on Orochimaru's unhealthy obsession with the Uchiha boy could start again. Orochimaru-sama must have his reasons. I bet you can't simply transplant those things, and Orochimaru-sama needs to have the fully functional version. So he is planning to make that piece of trash his next body. Tayuya scoffed. He doesn't even come close to Kimimaro. I mean, just look at those pathetic attempts to use the cursed seal. And he even got the cursed seal of heaven, and still he can't use it. He's approaching, Jirobo warned. Sasuke was tired. Whenever he wasn't out on missions, he was training. And still it is not enough, he was so frustrated with his lack of growth. The Chunin exams had shaken him up. He should have been much further ahead of the others, but instead he was beaten. That sand demon and the Uzumaki overpowered me so easily. The Hyuga seemed to be better at taijutsu than I was, and that Hyoden Trash just used a simple trick to defeat me because he was too scared to. Sasuke's musings were interrupted when a crude voice startled him. Oh great, and the faggot is as perceptive as a brick as well. I really wonder why we are wasting our time on this piece of trash, a rather aggressive sounding girl spoke up. Activating his Sharingan, Sasuke immediately became guarded. 4 of them. How could I not notice anyone before? We were hiding, a dark gray-haired boy remarked. You could see it as a test. And you just failed it. Who are you? Sasuke demanded. Don't try to order us around, princess, the red-haired girl scoffed. Hey Saken, didn't Orochimaru-sama ask us to test him a little? A 6-armed boy smirked. He seemed rather anxious, as if he was dying to attack. Orochimaru. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. What does he want with me? He gave you power, but you can't even use it. The gray-haired one that the other had called Saken spoke up, voicing his disapproval. Judging by his position within their group, he seemed to be the leader, though Sasuke couldn't really determine because they all seemed more or less on the same level of strength. It was sealed. Sasuke gritted his teeth in anger. Che, not like you could have used it. I bet you woulda died in 10 minutes. Enough. Answer my questions. The largest of the 4 stepped forward. I'll give him a try. Just try to avoid giving him any permanent damage, Jirobo, Saken commanded. You're giving up your 4-on-1 advantage. Do you wish to die? Sasuke frowned. His opponent remained silent though. I gave you a chance to explain yourselves, but so be it. His Sharingan seemed to glow as he soared forward. Of course, none of the 4 were surprised by his speed. They had seen him train enough to know how strong he was. Observation was a powerful weapon. It was a lesson especially Kabuto had often rubbed in. It was one of the reasons why especially the impatient Hyuga detested the bespectacled one, although one had to admit it didn't take much to get on her shit list. I'm the slowest of the Sound 4. I am Southgate's Jirobo, the plump boy remarked. Don't waste time on being polite, you stupid fatass. The angry Uchiha heard the girl growl from among the assailants as his strikes kept missing their intended target. Jirobo sighed. Why can't you ever talk a bit more ladylike, to Yuya? Thinking his opponent was off guard, Sasuke threw several kunai and shuriken. They hit, but it didn't do him any good. Kawarimi, he grimaced. And I didn't even see him do the hand seals for it. Oi! Stop yapping like a wimpy little dog, and show us if you are worth our time, Saken ordered. Why don't you uph? Sasuke was thrown back when a large fist made contact with his stomach. Even with his Sharingan active, he hadn't seen it coming. So you want me to take you on seriously? Well, you ask for it, he panted as he got up again. I already know what you can do. Jirobo wasn't really impressed by the fact that Sasuke had caught him with wire, but allowed his opponent to come near anyway. After all, he couldn't help that the Uchiha thought he had the upper hand. His furious striking made Saken frown a little when he saw the Uchiha move faster than he ever had seen him before. But still not enough, he sighed. Jirobo simply grabbed the Uchiha's leg the moment he tried to swing it at his opponent's neck. Use your seal, or I will quit kidding around, Jirobo said sternly. I told you it was sealed, Sasuke growled. Damn it, why did they had to attack now? I'm already near the point of exhaustion from an entire day of missions and training. Ah, you must think that if you had your seal, you could easily beat us, don't ya? The 6-armed one spoke up. Jirobo, switch out with me, will ya? Kidomaru, play however you want, but if you kill him I won't spare you, Saken scowled. He knew all too well how eager Kidomaru was to humiliate opponents. He hardly ever saw these things as fights, but rather as games. Rather painful games, as well. Okay princess. First lesson, Kidomaru said cheerfully at the annoyed Uchiha. You are not the only one Orochimaru-sama has set his eyes on. Sasuke knew that this was going to be difficult, but now he saw the same markings the seal had given him in the Forest of Death, only now on his opponent. He could see the chakra overflowing. And then Kitamura disappeared. Not for long though. With all his effort, Sasuke forced his Sharingan to the limits and quickly traced his opponent, but it was too late and Sasuke couldn't avoid the 6 fists that were swung at him. While he was dodging right, 3 fists made contact and floored the Uchiha. This isn't a fight. Before, I had some semblance of a chance, but this, I'm being trashed. You know, you'll always be weak if you stay here. This pathetic village, filled with those foolish civilians, you'll never become truly powerful if you keep playing games with your comrades. Pretending to be happy. You're only going to remain weak if you stay in this shithole. Orochimaru-sama can give you strength. Think about it. Didn't you wish to take on that cute brother of yours? Yes, we offer you power. Uchiha Sasuke, Saken stepped forward. But you are the one who has to make the choice. Orochimaru-sama has no use for people who don't follow him willingly. Not if they're supposed to be more than the average lab rat, at least. Hyuga jumped up a nearby building. We'll be back in a few days. You better make your choice before that, or I'll just drag your corpse to Orochimaru and be done with it. Kitamura laughed out. Yes, I bet Orochimaru-sama would get better results when experimenting on your corpse. Ah, if only that other Uchiha was near. Then again, facing Uchiha Itachi is suicide. Especially compared to a wimp like you, he taunted. He was at least capable of scaring something. Hell, you'd not even be able to scare that pink-haired moron from your stupid little team. Sasuke jumped up and charged in blind anger, too frustrated to even think and consider the consequences. He was lucky though. Saken only knocked him out, despite his annoyance. I am really starting to feel like Orochimaru-sama is making a mistake with you, he mumbled. Bonus. How not to use sand. Are you sure this is a good idea? Gaara's monotone voice silently asks. You wanted to practice your precise control over sand, didn't you, dusty two-leg? A certain black and white cat whispered back, her entire body ready for what was about to come. Besides, this is what you two-legs call comedy, and you said you wanted to be a more sociable two-leg. She isn't going to like this though. Prickly two-leg isn't going to find out, would she? I guess not. Are you practicing dancing moves or something? Kankuro frowned at the sight of his sister's awkward movements. Sand. Sand in my clothes. Every time I get it out, it itches again, Tamari growled. Kankuro rubbed his eye, trying to remove the irritating speck of dust. It is freaking autumn, how could there be so much dust in the air? Not even in the freaking desert did it happen this often, she continued her rant. Good work Dusty, now we could move on to make up wooden two legs, and mess up their joints with. Someone started to cough. A very annoying persistent cough that she, sadly, knew all too well. Oh poop. I got busted again, she hung her head in defeat. I take it you set up Gaara to spread all that sand over the courtyard as well. And here I accused Anko of not sweeping it, Akko said with a deceptively calm voice. Gaara-san, could you clean that mess up? Yes. Good. I'll let you off easy this time, even though it disappoints me that you allowed yourself to be manipulated by this little lady. Akko grabbed Chi by the skin in her neck when she saw the feline tried to crawl away. And we are going to have a little talk with Anko-san, she smiled at the cat. Why are you taking me to that crazy two-leg? Akko kept smiling at the now increasingly nervous cat. I am sure Anko-san would be able to determine a proper punishment for your attempt to corrupt Gaara-san. Chapter 46. 13. Days passed quickly for Naruto. Whether it was training on Bojutsu together with Tenten, training on Wind Chakra under Temari's guidance, the occasional Taijutsu spar with Rock Lee, or his sessions, teaching Fuinjutsu. It all filled the days of Uzumaki Naruto. It wasn't even his main effort. No, the majority of his time was spent on learning Fuinjutsu, rather than teaching it. He felt like he made quick progress on the theoretical level in understanding how keys could be made on the confining type of seals, however. The confining type was the one he had applied on Gaara in order to keep the Aikibi in check. But after all, Gaara needed a key in order to control his seal and avoid the scenario in which the Aikibi could overload the seal and break free from its prison. The issue was, rather than creating a new seal with a key, Naruto intended to alter a seal that had no key or keyhole at all. Worse even, It meant that Naruto would have to break open Gaara's seal and insert the part with the keyhole. Although Gaara's original seal rested within the one which Naruto placed on top of it, that seal was considered unstable at best. So, Naruto had to figure out a way to alter the seal as quickly as possible in order to minimize the risk of the Ikibi's chakra bursting out and taking over Gaara's body. It all came down to Naruto because he had made the seal, with the help of the chakra given by the Kyuubi. If any other seal master, such as Jiraiya, had altered the seal, its integrity would be weakened. So it is needless to say that this was a task that consumed all of Naruto's concentration. This concentration was rather convenient for some of the inhabitants living in the temporary residence in the Uchiha district. The abandoned estate where they lived since being tasked with Gaara's safety was bustling with activity, and amongst those residents, Hyuga Hinata was probably the busiest. Most of the arrangements were made by her, after all. Of course, her being occupied also led to the situation where she did not realize that Naruto had been away for an entire afternoon. But she, Akko, Anko, Karen, Kiba, and when available Kurenai as well, had to make sure everything was ready. Jiraiya-sama, we have reached the border and our paths must diverge, Yugito declared, and bowed respectfully to the man who had once saved her from being destroyed by the very demon that was sealed within her. I thank you for honoring your word, even though Konohagakure was in such a condition. Don't sweat it, Jiraiya didn't like all the formal stuff. I gave my word, and I'm not going to break it. Besides, Konoha is strong, they don't need me. Yugito gestured her 3 genin to move on, so that she could talk to the Sennin in private. Konoha might not, Jiraiya-sama, but Naruto-san will need your help. I saw how he is starting to slip. I know, Jiraiya grimaced. That kid has some serious obstacles. But I'm going to take him with me and train him into the ground. I'll make him strong enough to beat that fox back. Yugito tilted her head a little, as if in thought. That will not be enough, she said after a moment of silence. Strength without reason is pointless when battling the Biju for the control over your very body and soul. Naruto will need a goal, a dream so strong that his determination becomes inviolable. Only with a will of iron would he be able to undo the Kyuubi's corruption and break the hold it has over him. He needs an unshakable heart. Only his heart can drag him through this ordeal. I know, Jiraiya repeated himself. And the Kyuubi is no doubt powerful and intelligent enough to exploit every weakness the kid has. Still, I don't get it. I knew his predecessor, and she never had that much trouble containing the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi was sealed with Naruto when he was just a baby, wasn't he? Yugito waited until Jiraiya nodded in confirmation. Then you could say that there is a degree of coalescence between Naruto and the Kyuubi, and not just a child whose focus is to imprison the Biju. Their chakras will merge more and more. Whoever made that seal intended the Kyuubi to be used as a weapon, just like what Kumo did to me, or what Suna did to Sabaku no Gaara. However, Naruto's seal isn't strong enough to last forever. Not to mention that the Biju vastly overpowers Naruto. Perhaps the one who sealed the Kyuubi underestimated its power, perhaps the sealing ritual was disturbed, or perhaps the person who sealed the Kyuubi simply was not strong enough to make a stronger seal. An even more unlikely scenario would be that he actually believed Naruto would be strong enough for the task. Yugito shook her head and made to continue. But no one in their right minds would place such trust in a baby. I do not know for sure what the intentions were, as I am not an expert on the area of Fuinjutsu. I do know, however, that Naruto needs to be separated from other people. He said he could sense a person's malice, that he could sense the darkness within our hearts. If so, exposing him to so many people will mean that he is exposed to an incredible amount of hatred. Hatred, which will seep into his heart. Hatred will only aid the Kyuubi in his efforts to escape, as it will corrupt Naruto. On the other hand, other people might give him the strength he needs to endure all this. He needs his friends, Jiraiya argued. And the more he's aware of their feelings. A simple gesture isn't going to just change the distrust he has, Yugito grimaced. People like us, it is so easy to forget we were once normal humans. But the Biju inside us changes fundamentally. He will accept that difference eventually, but right now, he won't let anyone go past the defenses around his heart. So, you want me to take him to no man's land and leave him behind? Jiraiya frowned. Separation from other humans might be his best chance. Don't be fooled by thinking that your village is a good place for him, because none of the hidden villages treat their Jinchuriki well. However, you can't leave him on his own either. He will need your guidance, Jiraiya-sama. I know I did when I was in his situation. No matter how he acts, no matter what he said, he will be desperate and yearning for a way out. On my darkest days, I even considered taking my own life. Help him, Yugito urged, also from the pain she still had in her own heart. Help him to become whole again. Help him to find the thing that might be able to heal his wounded soul. I will do whatever I can, Jiraiya pledged. Yugito, be careful. If Orochimaru and that other man were from the Akatsuki, and my fears are correct, it might be the case that they will come after you as well. I do not know why, but I intend to find out why they were aiming to capture the Jinchuriki. It is likely they only aimed for the boys because they thought they could control them and use them for their own effort, but with my former teammate nothing was ever that simple. Knowing him, there must be some larger scheme. I will be careful, and I will make sure to warn my fellow Jinchuriki. I am sure the Raikage will be grateful for your help, Jiraiya-sama, Yugito smiled. Good, I might need that gratitude one day, if I want to find people who can teach Naruto how to control the Kyuubi's chakra. I would be honored, but I think B-san would be more qualified for the task. Even despite his deficiencies, when it comes to social interaction. Thank you, Jiraiya-sama, and goodbye. Travel safely, Jiraiya smiled and waved. Though the famous author inside him couldn't help but notice the curves which were accentuated by her tight black pants. That might be a good idea for the next Ika Ika. A hot teacher and her young and innocent student, he couldn't suppress a perverted giggle. Oh yes, that will definitely be good. Now all I have to do is collect some more high-quality research material. It was the day of the festival. Uchiha Sasuke for once wasn't troubled by the half-hearted requests for dates. Not even from Sakura, who was remarkably withdrawn after the invasion. Not that Sasuke particularly cared about that. Secretly, he liked his team, and though he would never admit it, he liked going on missions with his team even with the stoic Aburame, whose intelligence often gave him valuable insights in how Sasuke could improve his own skills. However, that hit the crux of Sasuke's hesitations. Improve, that very word was etched in the heart of the Uchiha. He wanted to get better. He had to. Every waking moment, he saw his slaughtered clan members, his friends, and his family brutally murdered by the brother he once loved so much. How could he even know love again while Uchiha Itachi, his nemesis, his archenemy, still drew breath? How could he form new bonds if the wounds of losing his old bonds hadn't healed yet? I will kill him, even if it is the last thing I do, Sasuke gritted his teeth, and thus he kept pushing himself at his training ground. Still, his determination was faltering. Should I take their offer? Could Orochimaru give me the power I need to kill Itachi? Sasuke did not know. What he did know, however, was that his development lagged behind his brothers, and it frustrated him to no end. I need to know where I stand. How strong am I really? Kakashi was right. I only lost against that Hyoden guy because I was too impatient. I was stronger than him. Sasuke knew that this was true, but still, he lost. While Haku was not particularly scaring him, there were two others who did. Compared to Gaara or Naruto, what chance would I have? I need to know if this village can make me strong, or if they were right. I must know. Are they right that the happiness of this village only weakens me? Forehead. Hurry up. Ino stood downstairs, impatiently tapping with her foot. Or else we're getting late. We still need to buy something, you know that. Geez, pig, what's the rush? You're not exactly in a rush to get back home, Sakura grumbled as she left the bathroom, confident she looked good enough now. After all, there would always be a chance Sasuke was there. Walking down, Sakura knew she needed to warn her father she was going out with Ino. Dad, where are you? Something grumbled from the kitchen. Kami, the festival hasn't even started and you're already drunk, Sakura scoffed. Not that he understood. He just stared ahead, virtually unresponsive. Damn it, Dad. Give him some space, Sakura, Ino warned her friend gently. After your mother, he will need some time to deal with it. I know, the Pinkett sighed. Still, this would be easier if he hadn't turned in a full-blown alcoholic. He will change, Ino promised patiently. Shall we go? Dad, I'm going out with Ino, okay. We'll be back before 10. And please don't drink any more, Sakura pleaded, though she could not keep the disappointment from her face. Mom would never forgive you if she saw you like this. Bye, Mr. Haruno. Ino waved at the still not responding man. The man was always so jovial and intense. To see him being emotionally broken like this pained her. Still, she knew that with some time, he would come around again. When Sakura locked the door, darkness settled again in the house of the Haruno family. I thought they'd never leave. Good thing they didn't notice that he was paralyzed. Yamanaka-fu stalked forward like a predator approaching his prey. Nothing personal, but I have to remove you for the sake of Konoha, the root operative whispered in the desperate man's ears. Desperate, because he knew he would never see his daughter again. Desperate, because he knew that she would later remember him as the useless drunk he had been ever since his wife had died. He was hurt, and that her last words against him were full of disapproval only added to that pain. But he couldn't move, and no one would know the truth. He would die as some drunk idiot who had an accident. But what hurt him most was that he couldn't even say his final goodbye and tell his daughter how much he loved her. I would have preferred a painless method, but like I said, it has to look like an accident, Fu sighed. Well, not because of issues of a moral point of view, but because it would only be more work for him to drag the rather tall man around. So let's go upstairs. Yes, no matter how annoying they could be at times, the orders issued by Danzo had to be executed. That should be enough, don't you think? Akko looked proudly at the collection of foods and drinks in front of them. The brown-haired Hyuga knew that this was probably a little too much, but she reasoned that this was better than a situation with too little food, especially with an Akamichi around. Hinata nodded shyly. It is perfect. Thank you, Akko-san. It is my pleasure. Hinata-sama. Akko smiled at the younger clan heir. Haruki and I often tried to do something, but Naruto always refused. Small wonder, his birthday hasn't been exactly the best day in his life, has it? Anko frowned. Ah, Anko, you're back already. I hope you actually brought something non-alcoholic this time. Akko pinched the bridge of her nose, sorely regretting the decision to make Anko responsible for the drinks. You made your point pretty clear, sis, Anko smirked while putting several bottles out along with the food. Where are the siblings? Keeping an eye on Naruto-kun, Hinata knew. At least, Tamari-san is. I don't think that Gaara-san has fully realized what is going on, and Kankuro-san was too busy getting dust and sand out of the joints of his puppets. I'm really going to punish that cat for doing that despite that I explicitly forbade her to follow through with that scheme of hers, Akko grumbled. Oh, can I have a shot at that feline again? Anko's devious smile disturbed Hinata enough to take a step or two backwards. What? Don't chicken out on me, girly, Anko frowned. I mean, how else are you going to get the point through to that Gaki if you keep walking backwards? That's enough of your teasing. Akko cut the snake mistress off before the situation would escalate into another fit of blushing or fainting. Let's make sure the house is clean before the guests arrive. We have another hour until the first ones should be here. Karen and Kiba should be nearly ready, but I'm sure they could use some help. Naruto yawned. Your turn, Kichi. Come on, don't be so slow. Well, that's what you get when play cards with just the two of us, the tiny orange toad argued. I could summon Gamatsu if you prefer that, Naruto smirked. Though that will be my limit, at least with most of my chakra closed off, and I've a damn long day already. Never realized how easily other people would get exhausted. Gay, finally admitting that you're not normal. Kichi taunted his opponent in an attempt to distract him. Gamakichi had very bad cards indeed. What? He wondered why Naruto suddenly looked back to the edge of the estate with such a grim expression. Someone's here, the now grim blonde sighed. I should have known they wouldn't leave me alone today. Whoa, what happened here? Choji looked at the destruction around the compound. I thought the invading army didn't reach this district. They didn't, was all that Kurenai replied. Her change in attitude along with the magnitude of the destruction caused to the nearby houses, gave Shikamaru enough information. Is Naruto still all right? Yes, though the fools that attacked him, she gestured to their surroundings to make the point come across. Stupid traitors, Asuma grumbled. They should have been given to Ibiki, They died far too easily. Sensei. Wait up. The four heard Ino shout. She approached quickly, with Sakura following her in a somewhat less enthusiastic fashion. Whoa, what happened here anyway? Some idiots from our village tried to attack Naruto. Shikamaru filed her in, knowing that she wouldn't shut up unless her curiosity was satisfied. Shall we go? I would like to, but it seems like there are some barriers in place, Kurenai frowned. Yes, I thought there would be intruders, a rather tired-looking Naruto said, with a tiny orange toad on his shoulder as he appeared out of nothing. Sorry, stealth seal, he apologized, when he noticed how he had startled them all. Though, why are you guys all here? The festival is in the center of the village, not here. We're not here for the festival, you moron. Yes, Ino's first reaction to being scared like that was outrage. Obviously. Just take that barrier down, okay. I assume you aren't here to attack, Naruto complied. Why would we do that? She blinked. Jinchuriki aren't popular during a festival that commemorates the victims of a biju, Naruto said dryly. You also want to come in, Shino, or do you just want to keep waiting there? I'll enter. The others turned around and saw Shino. Their collective thought was, how long did he stand there? Shino just sighed, resigned to his fate of never being noticed. Naruto couldn't help but feel confused. In the backyard, several tables with food and drinks were put up, as if it was a party. Meanwhile, more people entered. Guy, Lee, and Tenten joined Kurenai, Asuma, Shikamaru, Choji, Ino, and Sakura. Oh, and Shino, he reminded himself. Even Kakashi popped up along with Iruka, who was immediately greeted by Akko. What is going on here? Naruto felt left out. Apparently, everyone was here for a reason. Though the reason eluded him. I invited our classmates and S-sensei, and Naruto-kun, a rather tense Hinata answered him. But why? Well, it's your birthday. Birthday party. You guys organized a birthday party. For me, the Uzumaki was dumbfounded. What's so odd about that, Ni-san? Karen chimed in. Nobody ever celebrates my birthday. Nor is it exactly a happy day for me. Haruki asked me once, but I never saw the point of celebrating it. Don't be so ungrateful, Gaki, Enko said in mock anger, bopping him on the head. Everyone came here for you. And do you have any idea how often that slave driver of a Hyuga made me go up and down the shops to collect all this stuff? Oh, hi Akko, she waved innocently at the approaching, and glaring, Hyuga. I'm not ungrateful, just surprised. I mean, I pretty much hated this day. Naruto did not know how to feel any longer. On one hand, he was happy, but on the other, he still expected this all to be a cruel joke. It was a rather confusing experience. Didn't you tell me that times change? Gaara droned. People change with it. He and his siblings were also there, although several of the rookies were a bit anxious that he was here. Though the biggest surprise to all had yet to arrive. Hyuga Hitomi entered the backyard, accompanied by her cousin. He was still wearing bandages for the wounds he sustained during the Chunin exams, but he was unbound. Neji was free again. Neji-Nisan. Hinata gasped. But how? Father said you were imprisoned. The stoic Hyuga bowed for his clan's heir, even if that title carried little weight in their clan right now. I am reinstated, Hinata-sama, Neji replied. And I wish to offer my apologies for. That's all he could say before he was tackled down to the ground by a green combination bear hug from Lee and Guy. Even Tenten, who had sprinted forward as well, cringed at the outcries of the undying flames of youth, and the return of my youthful rival, from the green-clad duo. Congratulations on your 13th birthday, Naruto-kun. Hitomi did something only a few Hyuga of the main house ever did. She bowed to show her respect. I thought it would be fitting for Neji to be here today, considering what occurred yesterday, she smiled. Hinata looked from her cousin, whose head was still covered with bandages to hide the gruesome burn Naruto gave him during the Chunin exams, and then turned her pale eyes towards Naruto. The toad on his shoulder suddenly got an idea. Yo, I'm going home. I'm pretty sure the old geezers want to be at your party as well, just like Tatsu. Though I doubt Pops could fit in this yard. I don't have chakra too. Don't worry about that. You signed a contract with us, so the geezers can always track you down and summon us, the toad croaked before vanishing in a small cloud of smoke. Naruto-kun. What happened yesterday? Hinata came back to her senses when the toad popped away. How can Neji-Nisan be free again? Naruto looked up at the elder Hyuga, who nodded. Your mother and I agreed that Neji suffered enough, so during the trial yesterday, we tried to convince the clan elders that Neji should be set free. One day earlier, your letter was delivered in quite an ingenious way. Hitomi smiled when she let Naruto into her office. As wife of the clan leader, she had a number of responsibilities for the internal affairs of the clan, as well as overseeing ties with other clans. And while Hiyashi was the leader and the only one who could formally sign any official document, Hitomi relieved him of a lot of work. Well, I didn't trust the regular delivery service, considering the nature of what I wanted to tell, so Gamakichi was the most logical solution. Naruto scratched the back of his head, somewhat embarrassed. He never really knew how to deal with this woman who seemingly was able to look right into his soul. But Neji's fate is important to me, Hitomi-sama. Why? After what he did, and tried to do, to Hinata, I don't see why you of all people would decide to spare him. Though, forgiveness is the best way to end conflict. Spare him. Naruto blinked a little. I think he has already suffered enough. Those injuries were rather nasty, so I think he is punished enough already. Not even counting the wounds to his pride. Besides, he was set up by his father to target Hinata. If you want to punish anyone, it should be Hizashi. Hizashi. Hitomo frowned when Naruto mentioned him. Does he not know? Is someone else responsible for? Yeah, he's the one that told Neji that hurting Hinata would be for the good of the branch house. Though punishing Hizashi too harshly would upset the branch, Naruto mused. Though, it is inevitable that the rift between the two houses will happen. As far as I see it, it is only a matter of time until the situation spins out of control. If Hizashi would be executed, for instance, I highly doubt the branch would remain loyal. I mean, despite what he tried to do, he is the leader of the branch. I know that this trial will be about both Neji and his dad, so that is why I sent you that letter, Hitomi-sama. He is completely honest. So he really doesn't know, and I can't tell him either, because the others will be watching him. If they see any lie in him, they might even try to start a trial against him as well. Especially with all the rumors circulating about Hokage-sama's health worsening. There are enough people who wouldn't mind using this situation as an excuse to imprison Naruto. But if they see that his honest reaction is honest, they know it will be futile to prosecute him. Hitomi quickly considered her best course of action. Why do you want to spare Neji? He will guard Hinata when I cannot. There is a chance that I have to leave Konoha soon, and beside that there is the issue of me finding someone of my own clan. I can't ask you to house Karen-chan within the Hyuga clan as well. No, you've done enough for me, I won't ask for more. Besides, I already have an alternative place where the two of us can live, even if it needs some repairs, Naruto explained. Neji is a guard, Hitomi watched pensively. So the removal of his seal was intentional. This wasn't uttered as a question, nor was it meant to be one. That is why I covered it up with those burns, Naruto shrugged, not seeing the point of hiding it any longer to her. I didn't want anyone to figure out I could remove the seal. I know it would spark a rebellion within the clan, and I don't want to have that on my conscience. I'm not strong enough to force the clan to change, nor am I strong enough to protect the branch if they try something foolish. No, I'd prefer to keep this hidden until the time is right. Hitomi sat there, stunned by the sudden revelation. This is great news. How did you manage to do it? And why couldn't our elders reapply the seal? I put another seal in its place, which, at least for a few years, prevents the placement of the caged bird seal. And as for how, well, the caged bird seal is oddly similar to the Uzumaki clan fuinjutsu I've learned up till now. It took a lot of time to study it, and after some experiments I found the say to diffuse the seal, or even remove it completely. So that was what Haruki meant back then, she mumbled. How did the Hyuga get their hands on an Uzumaki sealing technique as advanced as the caged bird seal? I do not know, Naruto-kun, but I intend to find out. You gave me more information on the seal than I have found in years. For the first time in my life, I really believe the abolition of our system can be achieved, Hitomi smiled broadly. And your assessment is right, the time is not right to upset our clan. This must be something that is carefully prepared, or this could end in a horrible slaughter. Indeed, if anyone knew, I'd probably be killed before I could say, Ramen, Naruto sighed. Anyway, I freed Neji so he could look after Hinata, and he knows that he depends on me renewing that seal to keep his freedom. So you don't trust him. I trust his desire to be free, I trust his intelligence, and I trust his determination when it comes to setting the branch free. Anything more is just foolish. Very well, I shall aid you when it comes to deciding Neji's fate. But you know that your role in our clan will be part of the trial, do you? Of course, and I don't really mind it. It's not like they could punish me anyway, I'm not part of the Hyuga clan. It's something several of the elders have made very clear for several years, so I don't mind using their argument against them, Naruto chuckled darkly. Be careful. You know very well how dangerous these men are. That is why I prepared Neji. After what he pulled during the exams, he would be the least likely person to guard Hinata. Or so they will think. And if someone tries to use him for such plots, we might even figure out who's behind the entire thing, and get some proof. Because those rats sure are capable of hiding their tracks. Hyuga Neji, after hearing your story just now, we are ready to discuss the punishment for your transgressions against the clan, one of the elders said. His hair had the same color as his pale white eyes. Hyuga Eiji was the eldest amongst the counselors, but Naruto had never liked this man. I still would like to know where my father is, Neji demanded. They kept evading his question the entire trial. Uzumaki Naruto, the other elder, Hiyashi's father Hyuga Hideo spoke up. His gravelly and nearly emotionless voice could rival Gaara's, but that was the least of Naruto's concerns. If he would say Eiji was bad, Hideo was far worse. He definitely belonged to the category of the coldest people Naruto knew, but Naruto had never been able to find any evidence pointing in his direction. Whether this meant that Hideo wasn't among the people who tried to assassinate his granddaughter, or whether he was just too smart, was unclear. Yes, Hyuga-sama, where is Hisashi? Naruto blinked, looking around him as if he expected a trick question. Not here. That is correct. His burial will be tomorrow. Eiji droned, anger obvious in the old man's voice. Would you care to explain why you murdered him? Murdered? What? Naruto snapped. You were seen near Hisashi's cell, the night my brother was assassinated. Hiyashi stared at the young Jinchuriki as if he tried to find the answer inside his skull. I did not kill Hyuga Hisashi, the shock was more or less replaced by growing anger. Although he knew it wasn't exactly unexpected that people would try to blame murders on him, with his past, Naruto still felt outraged by the accusation. I would like to know why I am accused of such a thing, he said tersely. Do not try to deny it, Eiji shouted, forgetting about his composure for a moment. His wounds were caused by the same kind of attack that you used against Neji. Startled, Neji looked at Naruto, and the latter could see the betrayal in Neji's eyes. How could you? I did not murder anyone that night, Naruto hissed. I came to talk to Neji that night, nothing more. Although I should give you credit for that stupid accusation. I mean, really, a fire-based attack, and I'm automatically accused of murder. Hell, I don't even have a darn motive to go after him, he was already imprisoned. It wasn't like I had to hide my tracks by going after the man who helped teaching me. Hiyashi turned to his wife, but she shook her head. Several of the elders reached the same conclusion, after having carefully watched Naruto's response. After all, Hisashi's care confused them just as much, because none of them knew what had driven the man to do these kinds of things. Uzumaki Naruto, I believe you are not the one who murdered my brother, Hiyashi said, though his voice made it obvious that no apologies would be given either. What? But the jutsu used to, Eiji protested. The jutsu used to assassinate Hisashi could be replicated and used to frame Naruto, Hitomi cut him off. After all, from what I saw during the exams, his jutsu was not very refined, so anyone with sufficient mastery of Kaiden jutsu should be able to replicate it, am I correct? Yes, Hitomi-sama, Naruto nodded. And I see no signs of deceit, so unless anyone has additional proof, I suggest we withdraw our accusations. He murdered many of our house. Only those who wanted to assassinate Hinata-sama. Naruto had calmed down, but this composure worried the elders far more. So, unless you say that they were right and you prefer Hinata-sama to die, I do not see any issues. But if you do, he left it at that, but the threat was clear. The old council member flinched at Naruto's words, but fear led to the usual response this man had. Anger. What proof did you even have? Eiji raged. To Naruto it now was painfully obvious that the old man was used by others who preferred to remain silent while this man drew all suspicion to him. The question is, who else is involved in this? I've had my suspicions regarding that old goat of a Hideo for a while now. Is he the one manipulating this geezer? In 3 cases, I caught people at the act, only moments before they could have done any harm. Naruto's voice remained calm, although small traces of the Kyuubi's chakra began to leak out, making the atmosphere in the room rather tense. Well, the word gave is wrong, I suppose, but I got the information out of them leading to the people who were really behind the attempts. Naruto paused for a moment to let it sink in. Let them think I suspect them, let them fear. There is still no proof. If someone of the main house supposedly did something like that, there should have been a trial where. Naruto started to laugh, shutting the man up. Do you take me for a fool? Do you actually think I'm stupid enough to think that you would believe someone like me over one of your own? I am a Jinchuriki. Like your branch house, I face discrimination. And like them, I have to live with those limitations. Naruto spoke softly. But I have sworn to Hiyashi-sama and Hitomi-sama that I would protect Hinata. No matter what means it requires, I will hold that oath. How many people do you think that fool of a Hajime sacrificed in his ambition to kill Hinata? Enough. Eiji roared. Just shut up, old moron. Naruto remained dead calm, but all those in the room were gifted with the Byakugan, and none of them would have had their position if they weren't highly intelligent. So, they saw the rage behind Naruto's calm facade. Do you think I enjoyed killing people? Especially all those from the branch who were forced to do his bidding. I had to stop them because of my oath, but I never enjoyed it for a moment. I only want peace. But I cannot tolerate some lunatic who thinks his political position would benefit from her death. Then again, a lot more people disappeared afterwards, so I bet my actions made someone anxious. And considering how that didn't stop after I ended Hajime's schemes. What are you insinuating? Nothing. Though I find it peculiar that you are so aggressive on this subject. It almost seems like you care more about that traitor than about your clan's heir. As I asked before, would you prefer it if Hinata died? I am rather curious to hear you answer this as well, Eiji. Hiyashi agreed. I would never want to hurt Hinata, even though I stick to my point that she is unfit to inherit your position, Hiyashi. He lies, Hitomi realized. And he is skilled at it as well, not even Hiyashi noticed. If Naruto had not angered him like this, it might even be possible that I would have failed to notice it. But Hideo, his body language was off, if only for a second. Could he be behind it? But if he leads the conservative faction, why did he willingly hand his position to Hiyashi-kun? Then this discussion is closed, Hiyashi decided, believing his counselors. We must decide what to do with my nephew. It is clear he broke our clan's rules, but at the same time I admire his talent. Never in the history of our clan has anyone been able to learn the main house's techniques without proper guidance, and though it is obvious that there is enough room for improvement, the mere fact that Neji showed such skill indicates his vast potential. A severe punishment would be pointless, Naruto spoke up, even though it wasn't his place to speak. The injuries and humiliation I caused him would have been bad enough to get the point through to him. Neji's grimace showed that the latter agreed. Then again, getting the skin burned away from your forehead was not a sensation anyone would enjoy. Unless you would happen to be immortal, of course. If I can make a suggestion, Hitomi waited long enough to not give away that this had been prepared, and quick enough to speak before any of the elders would. Neji committed an offense against our clan, but Hinata was the one who suffered most. I think it would be fitting if Neji took a position as Hinata's guard. This way, Ko could free up more of his time to execute missions. And if anything happened to Hinata, we could always reconsider Neji's punishment. Money was always a convincing argument, and Ko was definitely one of the better shinobi within their clan. Perhaps even the best within the branch now that Hisashi had been found burnt to death. Agreed, Hiashi nodded. Neji will be responsible for my daughter's safety. If he fails, however, his transgressions will be reassessed, as suggested. And make no mistake that you will be held accountable for any possible failure in your duty. Now that Hitomi knew who to look at, she noticed Hideo's minuscule nod, after which two of the council members, Eiji being one of them, relaxed. Only Hiashi's aunt, Ko, voiced her disapproval, preferring a more serious punishment for Neji, arguing that he had shamed the Hyuga clan with his performance at the final round of the exams. But this motion did not pass. But before Hiashi could end the meeting, Hideo chose to speak up. There is one more thing I would like to discuss, son. Up till now, Uzumaki Naruto has stayed within our clan as our guest, but after his actions, some consequences should be taken. I am not a part of your clan. Naruto repeated the very thing Hideo himself often argued whenever he could oppose Naruto. So now Hideo got the argument back, right in his face. A correct assessment. Hideo narrowed his eyes, the only sign of irritation that any without the Byakugan would see. However, Naruto clearly felt the man's annoyance, as the temperature of his already cold aura dropped another few degrees. Nevertheless, our clan did not take you in indefinitely. I propose that we end your status as our guest. Hey, you just want me out of the compound, Naruto smirked. But you didn't have to be so explicit about it, I would have left anyway. After all, I have my own compound now. A compound. I am not aware the Uzumaki had any property left in Konoha, Ko frowned. True, but some things are best preserved when they remain hidden, Naruto emphasized on the latter word while looking at Hideo. I am not inclined to remove Naruto's status as our honored guest, Hiashi looked at his father. I have no reason to question his loyalty, and beyond that this bond with the Uzumaki clan will no doubt become important. Naruto's promotion to Chunin, along with his performance during the finals, made it clear that he will be one of the most powerful shinobi of our village if his growth continues at this rate. Thank you. Naruto couldn't help but feel slightly embarrassed at the praise. But I am already in your debt. As far as I'm concerned, the Uzumaki and the Hyuga are friends. Hiashi nodded in response. You have saved my daughter on more than one occasion, so the least I could do is give you the benefit of the doubt, Hiashi said on a decisive tone. So unless any of you has any concrete proof that Uzumaki Naruto made any transgression against our clan, I will not consider this case again. Hitomi smiled to show her approval, as her husband looked at her. What will happen to Hisashi's position? Eiji questioned. Hiashi frowned. None within the branch are capable enough right now. Besides, after the display that Hisashi orchestrated, the branch needs a clear message. From this moment on, Hisashi's position will be filled by the main house. Perhaps that Neji can take the position in due time, but that depends on the actions of the branch. Hitomi's smile dropped when she realized the consequences. With this seemingly simple decision, the entire branch house was punished, and what little political leverage they had within the clan was just removed. This would only further increase the tension between main and branch, as was the consequence of most of Hiashi's decisions these days. I knew things were going too well, Hitomi sighed. The branch is going to be infuriated with this. It seems Naruto-kun was right that things would spiral out of control. Present day. So Neji Nisan is appointed as my guard. Hinata wondered after Hitomi gave her a very condensed version of the story. After all, this was a party, hardly the place and time to tell her daughter that Hisashi had been killed. Especially not because of the circumstances, because Hisashi was now linked to various schemes that aimed to destabilize the clan. The attempt to remove Hinata from the picture during the Chunin exams by using his own son only confirmed to Hitomi how low the man had fallen. Yes, he and Ko will act as guards, taking turns of course, considering Neji will be out due to missions as soon as his chest and his head injuries have fully recovered. So you're really back, Tenten cheered. I'm no longer alone with these two madmen. Naruto smiled seeing Hinata so happy. This is what you wanted, is it not? He asked softly so that the others wouldn't hear. Hinata nodded, and smiled at him. Perhaps now Neji Nisan can be free from our clan's curse. Oh, he certainly is free all right, Naruto smirked. Though, I trust you know to keep that little piece of information a secret for now. If the clan found out that I could remove the seal, well, they wouldn't be happy. Hitomi smiled and nodded. Naruto is right, Hinata. And perhaps one day, with Naruto's help, we could free our entire clan, she whispered. I suppose this is the right moment for me to hand you my gift, Naruto-kun, she continued at a normal tone. Naruto stared at scroll she handed him. The history of the Hyuga clan, it was titled. And after Haruki's letter, Naruto knew very well how extremely dangerous and valuable this scroll was. Thank you, Hitomi-sama, he bowed deeply. This is a priceless gift. Hinata looked curiously, until she saw the title on the scroll, and looked at her mother in surprise. Their clan's history was an extremely well-kept secret, and a point which she only recently was educated in. For her mother to give Naruto such valuable information, it shocked her. Yay! Gifts! Anko jumped in. She and all the others weren't aware of the significance of Hitomi's gift, thinking it was just another boring history of a clan. Not that Naruto blamed anyone for being unaware that the Hyuga clan had falsified its history. After all, even most of the Hyuga didn't know that was how far the clan had gone to hide its past crimes. Unlike Hitomi, Anko gave Naruto a set of 5 vials. Kurenai became rather vocal about her concerns, after seeing the labels on the vials. Anko, how could you give him such potent poisons without giving him any antidotes? Hey, he wouldn't be stupid enough to drink it, Anko huffed. Just add some to a kunai or a senbon, and your target will drop like a fly. Those 3 are for instant kills, all untraceable of course, the other is the strongest paralysis poison I have, and the last one is the most amusing. Amusing poison. Naruto frowned, not really sure if Anko's definition of amusing would correspond with his. Use 1 drop of it and your targets will beg you to kill them. Anko smiled innocently as if she was talking about the latest movie instead of this macabre subject. It overloads the nervous system with pain, but prevents people from passing out at the same time. Perfect for torture. Kurenai pinched the bridge of her nose and sighed. You know this isn't exactly the thing to give someone on his birthday, don't you? Why not? Thank you. It's perfect. Naruto ended the discussion. I'm sure there are enough occasions I could use this. Where it could even save my life. See, even the Gaki knows his stuff, Kur-chan, Anko chirped. Asuma put a hand on Kurenai's shoulder to stop her. I see that you're unique as always, he chuckled. Not as unique as Kur-chan, I bet, Anko winked. No one is, Asuma coughed away his embarrassment. Talking about it, when is your celebration, Asuma-sensei? Naruto chimed in. Celebration. Kurenai-sensei won her bet, didn't she? What bet? Kurenai tried to act innocently. Well, the one you tried to hide. You know, that if our team outperformed Team 10, then he would have to propo. Asuma's rather loud coughing interrupted Naruto. That will be discussed in due time, thank you Naruto-kun. Anyway, let's move on to handing out presents. This could loosely be translated as, shut up about our engagement, and acted as the starting signal for everyone to assault Naruto with gifts. It was, to say the least, a weird experience for the young Uzumaki. Sure, every now and then he had gotten a present while living among the stoic Hyuga, but never for his birthday. To him, it had never been a day worth celebrating. Kurenai and Asuma had bought him a gift together, a valuable and extremely useful utility belt. Kurenai had ordered it with a few modifications, such as several casings which were attached to the belt, meant to store scrolls. The great benefit was that these casings were waterproof and highly durable, offering Naruto an opportunity to safely keep scrolls close to him even during battle. Having finished his job escorting Hitomi, who had excused herself and left after giving her present, Neji now stood in front of the line. While his gift caused some amusement among the others, he and Naruto, and even Hinata, knew the true meaning behind it. A book on clan politics, even one considered an essential piece of literature on the subject, was probably the least suitable gift in the eyes of most others, but Naruto saw it for what it was, a warning. His interactions with Neji during the past exam had drawn him into a snake pit with as yet unknown rules which Neji now handed him through this book. Of course, the whispered assurance that Neji would hold on to his promise to guard Hinata with his life far more valuable to Naruto. It was certainly a more useful gift than Kiba's special cream, which aimed to suppress stench. Naruto wondered if the Inuzuka wanted to say something with it, because Naruto never reeked like that before. It's not like I had ever farted in the Inuzuka's face, right? Then again, in a clan like the Inuzuka, smell was extremely important, so the symbolic value of giving this clan-specific cream to a non-Inuzuka was great, but Naruto wondered what the practical use of it was. Most of the others were much more practical by comparison. Choji's food coupons, which Naruto could spend at any Akamichi-owned restaurant, were typically something he would have expected from him. After all, the Akamichi valued food above all. To Akko's worry, Shikamaru gave Naruto a shogi set. Though, when she voiced her concerns, he promised to teach Naruto shogi as well, even though it was a drag. Ino, and by extension a tired-looking Sakura, handed Naruto an extensive book on gardening. The blonde had heard of Naruto's love for gardening, and because it was an interest she shared, she found this the most fitting gift she could think of. Following Shikamaru's promise to teach him shogi, she offered to help him with gardening. This was something which Naruto appreciated, considering the work that had yet to be done on the Uzumaki compound. Meanwhile, Naruto was starting to wonder how the others thought of him. Books, scrolls, seems like they all think that I love reading and studying. Am I such a nerd? He thought while a sweat drop was forming on the back of his head. Of course, one had to leave it to Kakashi to go above and beyond any possible gift when it came to literature, well, except for Jiraiya himself. Akko and Kurenai practically assaulted the one-eyed Jonin when Naruto unwrapped his present, which turned out to be a special edition of the first Ika Ika series. It made Anko rather jealous of Naruto. Akko, on the other hand, just said that Naruto was too young for such adult material. Iruka effectively countered this by saying that the actual plot in the earlier Ika Ika novels was rather good. While Akko voiced her disappointment that even Iruka liked those books, Naruto could have sworn she mumbled something like, so that's where he found the idea for. The other gifts were less controversial. Lee's training weights were certainly a good gift, but Guy's idea of giving Naruto a green spandex suit along with it was less appreciated. Although Naruto thanked him for the gift, he swore to himself to immediately lock it away once he had the opportunity if the others didn't destroy it before he had the chance. The look in Kurenai's eyes scared him a little. Iruka and Akko, on the other hand, had a better designed piece of apparel for him. They had modified a Chunin flak jacket, as Naruto had refused to wear one because he liked his own dark green short shirt kimono a lot better. It had made no difference to him if the flak jacket offered more protection, but the remodeled one was far more to Naruto's tastes. After all, they had made it similar to historical descriptions of Uzumaki armor. However, unlike the armor, which stretched to the legs, the flak jacket only covered his torso. And it looked remarkably good on top of his green clothing. Mesh armor turned out to be a rather poor defense against blades, but this armor-like flak jacket at least felt more durable to Naruto. In addition, the utility belt fit so well with it that Naruto was certain the four of them had done this together. Unlike the regular Konoha flak jacket, this revamped model did not have the regular pouches attached to the chest, but rather had a thicker protective layer woven in the fabric. With the sturdy shoulder padding of the flak jacket, he would have no use for his shoulder guards either, but the best thing was that it was decorated with his clan's symbols. Naruto realized he would have to change the color of his hand guards a bit, to better fit the flak jacket. But for now, they remained safely at their place, hiding the seal on his right hand. All in all, he really liked his new look a lot, even. Thanks, Naruto bowed, wearing his new outfit. It's almost too much for me to accept. You deserve a lot more, for all you've done, Akko reprimanded him. She sure as hell had not forgotten how he saved her when she got involved in one of the assassination plots. Good thing I should be able to repay Iruka-sensei soon enough, Naruto grinned at the thought. And through it, I'm certain I will make Akko a very happy person as well. All that was left now were three hesitant girls. And because of their hesitation, someone interfered. Dropping a dead bird in front of Naruto, she bowed her head and congratulated him. She even called him by his real name, rather than Whisker Two-Leg. Some thought it was another prank, and a rather tasteless prank at that, but Naruto stopped any protest. Two-Leg is correct. I thought this birthday gift ceremony you two legs follow was about one two leg giving the other two legs something they both appreciate, to show your equality, right? Like how blonde loud two leg gave Naruto a book on plants. Or how chubby two leg. That's enough explanation. Naruto saw the Akamichi's brow twitch, and quickly intervened. Thank you for your gift. Though I hope you understand why I'm not eating it, he chuckled. I do, Naruto, she smirked back. You'll find coupons for the dango shop under your bed, she whispered after jumping on Naruto's shoulder. But I bet that crazy snake's two leg won't be too happy when she finds out they're missing from her stash. Seeing him double over from laughter, Karen decided she could risk it. She had no confidence in whether or not he would like her gift, especially not after all the high-class stuff had gotten. She and the others knew that it was the first time he celebrated his birthday, so the decision to make it something special had been unanimous. However, Karen had virtually no money, and found it wrong to borrow money from others when it came to buying a gift. She wanted it to be something purely from her. My gift isn't anything spectacular. I'm sorry, Ni-san, Karen hesitated. I didn't have much money, but I wanted to give you something practical. And something about our clan. So. Naruto stepped forward and gave her a gentle flick on the head. Stupid little sis. Don't worry. Because of you I have family, he smiled at her. I gained a sister. I have family, and that's the greatest gift I could get, right? Blushing, Karen handed him her gift. Unwrapping it, Naruto smiled at her. Sets of shirts, black and white, all with the Uzumaki clan symbol proudly on the chest. You have all the attire you need for your job as a shinobi, but I thought you would need some leisurewear as well. I mean, all you have is from the Hyuga clan, not from our clan. And you're always wearing that green gear, so, even though I know this is just cheap stuff, but I thought you might perhaps like to wear something that relates more to our clan. But if you don't like it, I could always return it, she quickly added. I mean, this isn't. Naruto just cut off her blabbering by giving her a big brotherly hug. It wonderful, thanks Ne-chan, he smiled. I remember Jii-san once gave me a shirt somewhat like this black one. I literally wore that one out till I got too big for it and ripped it because I tried to put it on anyway. It's perfect. I know I'll treasure this one even more. Thanks Ni-san, Karen smiled, looking as if a weight was lifted from her shoulders. And don't flick me on the head again, she softly bopped him on the head, causing them both to laugh. Only Hinata did not completely share in the happiness, but not because of something as petty as jealousy. She knew that their relation was familial, something which made Naruto happier than anything. No, she saw, if only for an instant, the sadness in his eyes. That moment, when he ended Karen's hesitation, he was completely honest. I thought he was happier now. I knew he was burdened, but he seemed to be happier nonetheless. Was that all a mask? But just now, his eyes, they were so sad, and behind all that, anger. Why is he angry? Is it related to why he refused to talk about his father? I knew he was lying about that. So caught up in her thoughts, Hinata did not even notice how most people were looking at her, as if they were expecting her to hand over her gift next, which was pretty reasonable, considering how Tenten had maneuvered herself behind Hinata. However, unlike the Hyuga, Tenten was very well aware of the fact people were looking at her. The bun-haired girl simply sighed, realizing that the Hyuga was far more hesitant than she was. So, she stepped forward and showed Naruto the scroll in which her gift was sealed. Kami, this is going to be so damn awkward. I hoped I could wait until I was alone with Naruto. Not while everyone is here. Ah well, here goes nothing. Rather anxious at the thought of seeing his reaction, she looked down as she unsealed her gift. And heard the others gasp. Bonus. Too late. She was bored out of her mind. Still grounded after her latest prank, as Ako-sama had been fed up with the little cat's mischief, she could only watch how the others were all busy. Some of the two legs were busy preparing some party, and its significance eluded she at first until Tamari took the time to explain it. Two legs and their weird rituals. So they pick gifts to celebrate the day they've been born. It still makes little sense. And hiding it all for Whisker Two Leg is even weirder. They're lucky he is so engrossed with his studies all of the time. Arg, I'm bored, she whined. And I can't even go out to see my lovely little minions, not without incurring the wrath of Ako-sama. As if on cue, Naruto threw away his book. Arg, this is too frustrating. Finally giving up. Two leg. No way. But I've been at it for the entire afternoon. I might as well go out for a stroll. No can do. Whisker two leg. Ako-sama ordered me to keep you away from the preparations, she mused. Why not talk with me? I'm bored. Two leg, she begged. Why isn't that perverted two leg around? He always makes things livelier. He's on a mission, bringing Yugito-san to the border of the land of lighting. She yawned and walked towards Naruto. Isn't that the woman who messed you up, a little while ago? Well, she stopped me, if that's what you meant. She is the Jinchuriki of the Nibi after all, so she was in the best position to stop the Kyuubi's rampage. Nibi. Naruto frowned, and looked down at the flabbergasted feline. Yeah, the two-tailed Biju. Lady Nibi was here, and I didn't even know. She whimpered. Oh, I'm going straight to hell once I die. How could I be so stupid? She. Stupid, 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 stupid. The mortified cat started bashing her head to the ground. She's the goddess of the Bakeneko. Why didn't you tell me this before, you traitorous two-leg? Because I did not know. Naruto scratched his chin, wondering what was going on with the cat. What do you mean? The Nibi is the goddess of your kind. You know she's Biju, right? Who cares about that? Chi's mood had passed through the denial and anger phases, and now skipped bargaining to go directly to depression. Passing by, Anko suddenly jumped to Naruto, grabbing him by the collar of his shirt. What did you do to get that cat depressed? Teach me. I'm surrounded by insanity, aren't I? Chapter 47. Afterparty. Naruto sat by himself, browsing through his gifts. The others were cleaning up. Despite his intentions of helping them, the Sand siblings, Karen, Kiba, and Hinata were adamant. This was his birthday, so he did not have to help clean up after the party, and a party it certainly had been, with the foods, the drinks, the birthday cake. In addition, when Fukasaku and Shima also arrived after Gamakichi's warning, Naruto was even offered a healthy bowl of worms. He had passed on that offer though. Lee, on the other hand, had been foolish enough to show curiosity. Shima had stuffed the poor boy with her delicacies, overjoyed to finally meet a human who had proper taste, as she called it. She had not realized that Lee was just too polite to refuse. Naruto smirked to remember how he and the others had amused themselves watching Lee's expression when Shima had pulled out more and more food. It didn't take that long before the boy had become as green as his infamous clothing. All in all, Naruto thought everyone had gone way too far in their generosity. He had even said so, but that had only earned him a smack on the head from Ako. She even made a point out of it that he had always stopped Haruki and her from celebrating his birthday like they had wanted. He couldn't help but smile at the memory of Ako voicing her worries, and her wishes that he could live at least a decently normal life. As if I could ever be normal, only Sakura had misunderstood that remark, but how else could she react when no one had told her who I really am? Until the Sandaime revoked his law, none could freely talk about his burden. And in truth, Naruto did not really care if Sakura knew or not. Regardless of whether he once wished it to be different, Naruto knew very well she would never be his friend again. It was not that he regretted anything, not at all. He just wanted her to be happy. The only other thing he felt was the old disappointment for being foolish enough to think that the once bullied girl might have understood his position in the village, especially after their time in Team 7, when she had actually warmed up to him a little. She had warmed up to him a little, until she saw what he was capable of doing. Perhaps she is more honest in her opinion than most others. Hinata and Kiba, they saw some of the evil that I hold at bay. But they never saw me slaughter people. Sakura might think that I am a monster, but perhaps she is closer to the truth than most others. What I did, it can't just be blamed to the Kyuubi. I can't deny that I enjoyed killing some of the people. And it's as wrong to feel like that. Then again, how did the village treat him? Naruto answered himself. Scorn, aggression, whether it was open or hidden, he had felt it all. His senses showed him how they really felt about him, and he had stood alone against thousands. For years, it had been an unchangeable fact. But now, they witnessed his strength, the people feared him, and it would only deepen their hatred. Or would they be hypocritical enough to think that he'd buy it if they changed their minds about him? Would they be foolish enough to expect him to just forget? That's not true. Hinata and Kiba, they valued me even before I showed my true strength. Kurenai-sensei supported me, regardless of whether I was strong or weak. Karen accepted me as her family, not even caring about my burden. Not everyone is bad. Karen was lonely. She craved for acceptance. She desired to be loved, to have a family. All I gather around me are a bunch of rejects and idiots. Those who dropped out of the system, the losers of society, occurred to Naruto. That's wrong. That's not true at all. Naruto shook his head in annoyance at himself. Kami, why am I arguing with myself? Am I going mad? I could almost imagine that my darker thoughts could live a separate existence within me. Then again, if I didn't have the guidance of Haruki, the concerns of Akko, the camaraderie of my team, if I had been alone during all these years, how much deeper would I have fallen into the darkness? What kind of methods would I have used, be it consciously or subconsciously, to retain my sanity? To cope with this empty feeling of loneliness. Wanting to get his mind to focus on other matter, he took Hinata's gift from the table. Of all the gifts, her gift had touched him most of all. A few hours earlier, Tenten sighed. She realized that Hinata was far more hesitant than she was, and everyone was waiting for them. So, she stepped forward and showed Naruto the scroll in which her gift was sealed. Kami, this is going to be so damn awkward. I hoped I could wait until I was alone with Naruto. Not do it while everyone is here. Ah well, here goes nothing. Rather anxious at the thought of seeing his reaction, she looked down as she unsealed her gift. And heard the others gasp. Naruto, his eyes wide in surprise, stood there with her gift in his hands. Tenten, this is too much. This must be worth a small fortune. It isn't that much. Tenten waved it off, though she was unable to hide her discomfort from being stared at by everyone present. That's no regular metal either. Those tips are made of the same metal as my knives, Asuma muttered, unable to keep the awe from his voice. That's a special metal which conducts chakra, kiddo, he added, seeing Naruto's confused look. And that's definitely not cheap stuff, either. Seems like pretty high-grade material. Tenten scraped her throat. My dad made it. Especially for you, Naruto. Why? I mean, because you teach me in your clan's secrets, even though there is no reason for you to do so. But you teach me Bojutsu. It's a fair trade. It's not. Any idiot could learn Bojutsu. It is knowledge which is stored in the central libraries and freely available to you anyway. No, by comparison, you share secret knowledge, knowledge that made the Uzumaki clan the masters of Fuinjutsu. You don't understand what that means to a clanless person like me. Naruto gives lectures in Fuinjutsu. Hey, why didn't I hear of that? Ino wondered. Anticipating this kind of wondering from his comrades, because Tenten has an abundance of talent in Fuinjutsu, Naruto explained. She showed me tweaks to the storage seal that I've never even encountered in the Uzumaki scrolls one own. No, her talent is definitely there, and that's why I chose to teach her some stuff, in exchange for her teaching me. So it is just a fair trade, where we teach each other. It is not a fair trade, Naruto, absolutely not. In this world, talent alone is meaningless. If I'd belong to a clan, I'd be taught a clan's secret skills. But I'm just a civilian girl. My only knowledge on being a shinobi is derived from the stuff we are taught at the academy. And because I'm clanless, I always have to fight an uphill battle, because all the others of my age have access to secret knowledge which I can never access. My father knows very well how valuable your knowledge is, Naruto. That's why he forged this. She pointed at the black, metal 6-foot-long bow Naruto held in his hands. This might be worth some money, but compared to the stuff you're teaching me, it is nothing. Fine then, Naruto conceded with a sigh, looking at the combat staff in his grip. I guess I know which blacksmith I'll be purchasing my goods at for the rest of my life. And with all the repairs that the Uzumaki compound needs, I bet I can pay him handsomely for his services. After all, for those without clans, a gift like this bow is quite the investment. Thanks, Tenten, but please, know that I don't need to be repaid for what I teach you. Between Karen and me, there are only 2 living and breathing Uzumaki left. It would be completely foolish to keep our clan's secrets completely hidden away, just for the sake of some outdated pride. Sasuke-kun says clan secrets should always remain within the clan. Sakura frowned, thinking back to Kakashi's suggestion of Sasuke sharing some of the Sharingan's secrets so that Kakashi could better help him develop his power. My point exactly. Naruto smirked and glanced to see who caught his meaning. Thank you, Tenten, I'll treasure it. Ha! When I'm Hokage, this weapon will become a national treasure, and the entire world will hail your father's skills, he boasted. You'd better get that hat soon then, Tenten laughed. Though I am not looking forward to the amount of time I'd have to help him in the shop if Dad got that famous. There was, however, one more reason behind the gift. One which Tenten would never say out loud, ever. Her father could be so damn shameless at times. Just give him this and you'll get his attention, Tenten recalled his words. And when you capture his attention, you just make sure you can marry into his clan. Right. As if she'd steep that low to use his trust like that. Then again, it was common practice among the clanless to try and get into a clan that way. In Tenten's view, even if it was but a lowly clan, their men and women lived better lives than those without clans backing them. If someone without a clan got incapacitated, there was no one to support him or her. Not to mention the most dire scenario. The orphans belonging to clans would be taken in by other members of their clan, while the orphans of clanless went to the orphanage, and faced who knew what kind of future. Those orphans had to fight for every chance, and more often than not just ended up in prostitution, criminality, or got other kinds of lowly professions to get their hands on some money. It also bore mentioning that an unexplainable number of orphans just disappeared. Whether those children were killed for someone's amusement, or drafted into some kind of shady underground organization, no one knew, and nor did anyone bother to figure it out. On the other hand, it was not the case that Naruto was part of a particularly influential clan. No, with Karen's heritage not being common knowledge yet, Naruto's name rose in fame purely due to his actions, Tenten considered. And between what he heard from his own daughter, and from what was said about what Naruto had done during the invasion, Tenten's father thought quite highly of Naruto. He was part of the minority who came to see Naruto as a hero rather than a monster. He was one of the people who remembered the story of a kid plucked out of the orphanage due to some kind of incident, who now rose through the ranks. To people like her father, Naruto was a shining beacon of hope that even the lowly clanless could overcome their obstacles, and hope that people could become more than their birth decided for them. While Tenten disagreed with his pragmatic views on marriage, she understood why he wished her to live a good life. He had struggled for a long time to rise to his position, to work his way to the shop he owned at the main street, from the dusty shack in some back alley they owned when Tenten was just a little girl. He was a self-made man, a blacksmith with a clientele that valued his craftsmanship highly. She understood how he wanted her to be safe, to be protected from the disdain with which people looked at the clanless, and to have a better life. Nevertheless, Tenten was adamant that she would only marry out of love, not for any materialistic gains. Still, several of those who were present at the party were born in the most powerful clans of Konoha, not to mention there were the children of the Kazekage. Tenten had no doubt that most of them would see this possible hidden meaning behind the gift. After all, the clans warned their children to always watch out for the wooings of the clanless, especially the likely future clan heads, who were expected to find themselves a spouse worthy of such a position. The clanless were definitely not worthy in that line of thinking, because such an espousal would bring no political or monetary benefits to the clan. This common prejudice was exactly the reason why Tenten had hoped to get a chance to give Naruto this gift in private. She did not want to give the others the impression that she was that petty, when the gift was a sincere one. Tenten was confident that she would make it as a shinobi and earn her position in the village through her skill, so that she could one day be compared to her great example, Senju Tsunade. She would never want to become someone purely based on for whom she spread her legs. That was not the kind of woman she wanted to become. Ever. Then I guess I'll have to start preparing an advanced class on Fuinjutsu as well to get it even, Naruto smirked, and brought Tenten out of her inner pondering. Just wait till we finish that first book. I've barely got halfway through it, and I'm already lost. Tenten retorted, happy that he brushed over any potential embarrassing subjects. Besides, if he thought she was not in his debt due to his sharing of knowledge, there would be no deeper meaning behind her rather valuable gift. And if there was no debt, there would not be a claim, as clanless would something call it when someone of a clan accepted their gifts. And she wanted nothing to do with claims and debts, especially not in front of all the others. Karen and Hinata looked at each other and decided to remain silent, not because they were worried Tenten would be after Naruto, but rather because they hadn't gotten nearly half as far into Naruto's textbook as Tenten now said she did, much to the frustration of both. Well, your turn, Hinata, Temari smiled. We're sorry, Naruto. While we do have a gift, it will take a while for it to get here. But we have the promise of Baki-sensei that he'll bring copies of Pakura-sama's notes. He promised Gaara that he'd bring it personally when he comes to Konoha. Well, to say that this took Naruto by surprise was a massive understatement. Really? But you said that would be. Baki-sensei agreed that this was the least we could do in return for your actions. Gaara's dry voice sounded up. Wow. That is awesome. Well, Baki-sensei did request that if you were to manage to replicate it, that you would teach it to our shinobi as well. Sounds like a fair deal. Naruto smiled. Thanks, Gaara. Temari, and you too make up two-leg. Don't you use that accursed cat's rotten nickname, Konkuro protested grumpily. So, what's so great about a bunch of notes? Ino wondered, as nosy as ever. It's a secret, Temari teased the quick-to-pout blonde. But when Naruto figures it out, you'll see it eventually. You sound like you believe that I can really do it, Naruto laughed. Though replicating the lost Shikuden Kekkei Genkei will be next to impossible. Even if I have affinities for both wind and fire. Those notes offer the closest thing there is to even having a chance. And I bet that Gamazu will be eager to help me, Naruto mused. He already knew for sure that the professor amongst the toads would definitely be enthralled by the possibility, no matter how remote, of achieving such a feat as resurrecting lost jutsu. After what the Mizukage had told Naruto, he knew that it was not completely impossible to replicate the Scorch release, even though Terumime had access to a lot more data than Naruto now had. However, Naruto was sure the silverly skinned old toad Gamazu would think his way past those limitations. Although, Naruto first needed access to his chakra again, because with his limited reserves, summoning any toad more powerful than Gamakichi was rather demanding at this time. Well, you have a bad habit of doing the impossible, Temari smiled, nodding towards her little brother. That makes one believe you can go even further. Perhaps, Temari. Perhaps. But it's much more likely that the Kyuubi will take control over my body before I actually reach the point where I am worthy of your trust. Well, only one more gift to go, and then we can get something to eat. Kurenai gave Hinata the little push she knew the girl needed. Why yes, Hinata blushed. She had a small pack in her hands, approximately the size of a book. But it was not the usual shape of book, being thinner and broader than a regular book. Hesitantly, she gave him the gift. When he unwrapped it, and opened it to see the first page, Naruto knew that despite the many valuable gifts he had already received, this one was by far the most touching gift anyone could have given him. Pictures. It was an entire book filled with photos. It might not be as useful as a flak jacket or utility belt, or as lethal as Tenten's bow staff and Anko's poisons, but this photo album, Naruto had to swallow away more than a few tears when he saw his mother, widely smiling, in a photo on the first page. After learning how little Naruto knew about his own mother, only recently discovering her name, Hinata had thought that this would be the thing Naruto would desire most. Especially because the place her own mother took in her heart. As such, the first few pages were all photos of Uzumaki Kushina. More than a few of these also featured a younger Hyuga Hitomi, and even a younger Hiashi, as the younger Kushina apparently was friendly with Hitomi. And much to Naruto's surprise, Hiashi actually appeared to be a human of flesh and blood, rather than the distant and cold clan head he was now. Next, there were pages with photos of Hyuga Haruki, even one photo of him with his fiancée Minako. Mother helped me find these pictures. Some were in the Hyuga archives, but most of the photos of your mother came from mother's own albums. Hinata explained shyly why her own family also appeared so often. And Ako-san helped me find Haruki-san's photos. Thanks, Naruto said hoarsely. I don't know what to say, thanks. Well, we're not done yet. Ako smiled widely, and showed him a camera. Time for a group photograph. Seeing her step back, With her eternal selfless nature kicking in, Naruto shook his head. No, Akko, you belong on this picture too. More than most others, even. Forming the well-known hand seals, Naruto created a cage bunchen of himself. You know what to do. And don't mess it up, he ordered his clone. Everyone should be on it. The bunchen shouldn't be getting weird ideas on what the picture should be focused on. They could behave oddly, at times, and Naruto didn't want to take any chances with this moment. Yes, boss, the clone sighed, followed by something whispered which Shikamaru thought to be spoilsport. With everyone now gone, and wanting to pass the time, till the others were done clearing away the leftover food, one of the benefits of inviting an Akamichi was that there never was much food to throw away. Naruto sat down to browse through his photo book. He did not have an opportunity for this after receiving it, but now that Anko was in bed passed out from the excess of alcohol, much to the surprise of Tamari, who wondered how a guard on duty could act like this. Akko was out at the festival with Iruka, and their guests were either gone, or in case of the Sand siblings, cleaning up inside the house. Naruto finally had the privacy he needed to calmly look at each photo. The new photos, courtesy of the instant film system of the camera, were already pasted on the last page. There was a picture of him and Karen, one with him, Chi, and Akko, and a picture from Team 8 with him, Kiba, Hinata, and Kurenai. The only picture he would refuse to add to the book was his team photo with Team 7. He wanted this book to be filled with happy memories, not annoyances like those past experiences. To be sure, the photos he now saw of Haruki, fondly smiling at the young Hyuga woman who had obviously been his fiancée, made him a bit sick in the stomach. His loss still hurt, but despite it, he was happy that he could see his caretaker. No, Haruki was not just his caretaker. Hyuga Haruki had been a father to Naruto, more than his biological father ever was. Yes, even the Yondaime Hokage could be found in one of the photos. Naruto wondered if it had been an accident, or if Hitomi had deliberately given Hinata this picture. Naruto saw his mother, widely smiling, standing next to the blonde man at a party in the Hyuga compound. It disturbed Naruto to realize how much he looked like Namikaze Minato, the man who had cursed him to bear the mightiest demon of all. If his mother had not looked so happy, Naruto suspected he would have ripped that photo out of the book. He did not want to have this man, who had turned him into a living weapon, to be in this book filled with happy memories. How dare he be so content, when he would end up cursing his own son? Is everything all right, Naruto-kun? Yes, I'm fine, Naruto smiled. How long has Hinata been standing next to me? I never noticed her. You looked conflicted. It is weird seeing my mom like this, Naruto told half of the truth. I mean, I never really knew her. I only know her name for a few days, and now I see these pictures, it almost makes me feel like I can get to know her, even if it is just a little bit. I guess we're done, Kiba yawned. But he intended to walk towards Naruto and Hinata. Karen stopped him. Let's get inside, Karen smirked. I bet Hinata would like to talk to Ni-san alone. Kiba shrugged, not really seeing the point of it, but Akamaru yipped in agreement. 2 against 1, as usual, Kiba sighed. Seriously Akamaru, why do you always pick Karen's side? Don't blame Akamaru for being smart. Karen giggled as she dragged Kiba inside, looking for what they could do to help the Sand siblings with the remainder of the dirty dishes. A boring task, but Gaara had requested to do it, taking it as another challenge to refine his control over his sand. Scouring the plates was a good way to refine his control. Though Akko wouldn't be too pleased by the number of broken plates, next morning. But the Tenten, what was she saying about that stuff about clans and clanless? I didn't really understand all that stuff. Konoha is so different from Kusa in that contrast. Karen continued. That political crap, Kiba grumbled. Mum makes me learn that shit, but I find it rather pointless. People should just be like a pack of dogs, it would create a much more reasonable society. Well, we aren't dogs. Unfortunately not, he sighed, and Akamaru whined. The people of Konohagakure are basically divided into 3 groups. The first and most powerful group are the people from the major clans. These clans have the most combat power, economic power, and political influence within Konoha. This is also because they have the strongest Kekkei Genkai or clan jutsu. The best example of it would be the Hyuga clan, which is easily the most influential clan of our village. As the Inuzuka clan, one of the major clans. Yup. Kiba smiled proudly. We may suck at politics and that economic mumbo jumbo, but we sure as hell boast the military prowess to deserve our position, just like the Akamichi, Yamanaka, Nara, Sarutobi, and Aburame clans. Below these major clans is a much larger group, which are the minor clans. You met Sakura tonight, didn't you? The pink-haired girl. She looked rather unhappy with Nissan. Well, yes, not sure what's going on with her, but I bet it was because Naruto called Sasuke a dumbass, Kiba chuckled. Anyway, she is part of the Haruno clan, which is a good example of a minor clan. These clans usually have little influence, and their name mostly depends on the prowess of the one or two members, usually the founders of the clan. Generally, these clans flock under the banners of the major clans, because after their founders die, they usually become rather anonymous and risk losing their status if they don't seek protection. Nevertheless, these minor clans have their people organized, unlike the lowest class of people in Konoha. The clanless, Karen guessed. Yes. These are people who aren't attached to any clan, not by blood at least. They do serve clans, but only as employees. Which kinda sucks, because shinobi have a high risk of death and injury, so without the backing of clan, people who are incapacitated, widowed, or whatever, are mostly left to their fates. Which usually means that they are impoverished. Isn't the civilian population ranked even lower? In Kusa, shinobi always outrank civilians, Karen frowned. Oh, it might not be a law or anything, but shinobi definitely have an advantage in Konoha as well. But that's regardless of whether they belong to a clan or not. I mean, a civilian member of a clan would still have a higher position than a clanless shinobi. I mean, although most people within the clans are trained as shinobi, there are always those who don't have what it takes to become genin, or are forced to quit as shinobi due to age or injury. I see. So the difference between shinobi and civilians only counts when being in the same caste. Yeah, Kiba sighed. Which is kinda stupid. Look at Tenten. From what we saw during the exams, she'd pretty much kick both our asses, he admitted. But because she's clanless, she always had to struggle to get the acknowledgement she deserved. The clanless always face discrimination. There is just too much emphasis on the genetic bullcrap of clans. And on top of it all, people also seem stupid enough to think women are weaker than men, even when they're of the same rank and social position. What? That's stupid. Karen angrily fixed her glasses. Yeah, just take one look at my mum or my sis, and you'd say anyone would know better, Kiba shrugged. But for Tenten, it means she has two prejudices she needs to beat. That's why she's so grateful that Naruto teaches her Fuinjutsu. Because Fuinjutsu is our clan's secret technique, Karen knew. But we don't have any special bloodline limits, do we? How about you? Are your senses? Not every special technique is a keke genkai, Kiba explained. Many are called Haiden, meaning that they're part of the clan's secret tradition. They are just handed down from generation to generation, and are usually veiled in secrecy. Takes a lifetime to learn, and is virtually impossible to copy. And I bet that your Fuinjutsu is the same as the Haiden Jutsu. Not sure though, I kinda suck at all this stuff. I prefer to pummel my opponents as a shinobi, rather than having to talk them to death like a stupid politician would do. Oh, and about me and Nissan, what position do we have? Major clan or minor? Now there's a headache if you ever want to name one, Kiba grimaced. Mum keeps complaining about how the council is whining about it. Before you came here, Naruto was considered to be the last of his line, so he was basically considered clanless, despite having a clan's name. Same goes for Sasuke, though his case is treated a bit different due to his Sharingan. Stupid bloodlines are always favored. Anyway, that was before you came. It was reasoned that one person can't form a clan, but with you coming to Konoha we suddenly had two descendants of the Uzumaki clan. So, they're basically still arguing what kind of status you two should have. Mum told me that the Uzumaki were originally on par with the Senju and Uchiha clans, and even had their own hidden village. But right now, with only two people, the significance of the Uzumaki name is still impossible to determine. So Ni-san is a clan head. Nope, he's still too young. He'd either have to be 20 or of Jonin rank to be qualified to be a clan head. But he's the highest ranking shinobi, so you could say he's the unofficial head, I guess. So if I become a Jonin first, you'd be able to boss him around. Kiba joined her in laughter. Thanks, Hinata. Why? Akko told me that this whole party thing was your idea, Naruto smiled. And though it was a weird experience, it was pretty damn great. Well, until Anko got sick from all the booze. She really should learn some restraint, Hinata agreed. But I didn't organize it on my own. Akko-san, Karen, and all the others helped as well. You took the initiative, didn't you? Why yes, but. So, why can't I just thank you for it? It's one of the best things anyone ever did for me. Thanking you is the least I could do. Everyone deserves to celebrate his birthday. Hinata got redder and redder as her blushing intensified. Before today, I only ever got one gift for my birthday. Well, two actually, if you count the Kyuubi, Naruto added with a darker expression. He looked to his side and saw Hinata stare at him. It was only for a second, as she turned her head so quickly that Naruto imagined she would have strained a few muscles in her neck by the action. I think it was Ero Sennin who gave it to me. When I turned 6, which wasn't too long before we first met, I found a stuffed toy, a plushie of a toad, underneath my pillow. Hinata's eyes widened when she realized what plushie he was talking about. Yeah, it's one of the only things I took with me when I moved to live at the Hyuga compound, Naruto smiled. Hinata felt a bit conflicted by how sad and fragile his smile looked. Then again, she did not see him smile genuinely very often these days. Most of the time, his moods were hidden behind a fake smile, but in reality overshadowed by something darker, the darkness cast by the Kyuubi, Hinata suspected. I remember you had that toy. It was damaged, Hinata finally said, hoping this would steer the conversation in a direction where he would tell her what happened to the plushie, without her pushing him too much. Sure. They tore it up. Why? Why would anyone do that? The other kids at the orphanage, they saw that I got something, so they tried to take it from me, Naruto sighed sadly. I didn't want to. I mean, everything I had was usually torn and broken anyway. Even on good days, I got less food than the other kids, and had to eat it quickly to prevent it from being taken from me. The woman who led the last orphanage hated me quite a bit. I suppose the fox killed someone she cared for, Naruto shrugged. The other kids knew, and exploited that. Hell, sometimes the adults even encouraged it. Anyway, they tried to take away the first gift I ever got, and to me it was vital to keep it. So I tried to take it back. Well, I guess I sorta did in the end. They just beat me up, and ripped Gama-chan's head off right in front of me. That's horrible, Hinata gasped. Well, it was the orphanage. I can't really say that it was a happy place. I was used to it back then, yet still, I held on to the plushie. Back then, I felt like I would lose everything if I would let go of it. Weird, isn't it? Naruto tried to laugh it off. How important stuffed toys can be for little kids. If you never had anything, such a gift must have been amazing. It sure was. Hell, it still is. Not that I'm still that same kid who stashed away a toad, only having the courage to drag it out of its hiding place during the night. I guess it was a bit paranoid, but still, it was good thing that I did it, because it was the only reason why I got it back. I slipped out of the Hyuga compound on one of the first nights I stayed at the clan, Naruto smiled. But everything got better in the end. Gama-chan got fixed, not too long after I moved here. At least, fixed much better than the improvised method I used to put my Gama-chan's head back on. Hinata choked for a moment. I panicked for a bit back then, Naruto continued, not noticing Hinata's shock, as he was caught up by a weird feeling of nostalgia. Suddenly Gama-chan was gone, but then I find it back on my doorstep the following morning, and this time Gama-chan had its head firmly attached. Way better than I ever could have done. I really sucked at sewing. Still do, he chuckled. Only then did Naruto see the deep crimson blush on Hinata's face. Hinata. Why yes. Plushie. Sewing. She squeaked. Blinking, Naruto stared at his blue-haired friend. He suddenly realized she had done that for him, all those years ago. You did that, Hinata. All of a sudden he remembered what Tsunade had told him a few days earlier. You'll figure out what you feel for her one day. Or what she feels for you. What she feels for me. It can't be. He felt shocked. He suddenly remembered everything. Her blushing, her fainting when they were younger, all the remarks Haruki made, or Akko, and the mischievous taunts from Shi. Even Hitomi herself had made vague hints in that direction. All those little pieces fell in place. There was how Hinata responded when Karen hugged him, how she had tried to talk to him, again and again, even though he had little to no interest in the world around him. Hiruzen, Jiraiya, Haruki, Akko, so many had tried to reach out to him. There were her efforts to drag him back from his self-imposed isolation. When was it that everything changed? When was it that I actually started to feel accepted? When was it that I even had the courage to talk about my burdens? He already knew. It was after he joined Team 8. No, not Team 8. As much as he appreciated Kiba's friendship and Kurenai's guidance, he knew it wasn't them. It's Hinata. Naruto felt confused. It always was her, but it can't be. She's from the Hyuga main house. She is far too good to like something like, it's impossible. I'm really going nuts if I have such stupid ideas. Still, no matter how much he tried to deny it, he couldn't shake off that memory. The look had been in those pure white eyes. It had never been just fear, it had also been hope. He thought of those beautiful white eyes, the first time he had seen the Byakugan, the first time anyone looked at him with hope and trust, the first time Naruto and Hinata had met, and the day they both got kidnapped and nearly shipped off to Kumogakure. No one had ever looked at him like that before. That look in her eyes was something he had never forgotten. Naruto sighed. It's pointless. Even if it is true. The further she gets away from me, the safer she would be. After the stunt I pulled to help Gaara and stop the whole situation from spiraling out of control, and descending into war, how much time do I have left until I become unable to keep the Kyuubi at bay? How long until he takes over and kills everyone close to me? Naruto-kun. Hinata felt confused by his sudden silence and the mood swings he seemed to go through. It's pointless. No matter how I feel, no matter how she might feel, it is pointless. Besides, I have always sucked at this social stuff, I'm probably just wrong anyway, Naruto grimaced. I must be. There's no way someone like her would, and if I am not wrong, I can feel the corruption grow. No, she's better off if she stays away from me. I couldn't bear to drag her down with me. She'd get hurt. It would even be possible that I would be the one hurting her, and I can't let that happen. Not Hinata. Everyone but Hinata. He felt estranged by his own train of thought. This confusion, he never felt anything like this before. It both gave him hope, and filled him with an equally great fear. Naruto had always kept the world at bay, keeping it easy to understand, keeping himself protected. He had prevented attachments in order to avoid disappointments and pain. How did she pierce his mental defenses? When? The inverse of hatred. That was how he once described how she felt to his unique sense for malice. Wasn't it just innocence? What was the inverse of hatred? Love. I must be wrong. It cannot be. It shouldn't be. It seems I just can't stop thanking you tonight, Hinata, Naruto said softly. And Hinata saw his faint smile. One of his rare genuine smiles, Hinata noticed, despite the fact that there was something behind that smile that apparently hurt him terribly. Thank you for the photos. For this party. And now even for my Gamma-chan. Thank you. It was always an impressive thing to see Hyuga Hinata blush. How her fair skin could become so red that it simply seemed to glow with a bright crimson light would always remain a mystery to Naruto. But this blush seemed to surpass all the previous ones. Mo mother fi fixed it. I only brought it tea to her, she finally stammered. Gay, you always remain so humble, despite being the most amazing person I know. Naruto laughed softly, shocking the already heavily embarrassed Hyuga to her core. Naruto-kun called me, the most amazing person he knows. Hinata fought to remain conscious. This moment was perfect. She wouldn't allow herself to faint and ruin it. Not now. But what could I say in return? Think. What is the right answer? Naruto stood up. He wanted to stay near her, to talk for much longer, but he knew that if he did not walk away now, the odds are always against me, no matter what I do. I'm fated to fall. That bastard of a father of mine made sure of that when he crammed the Kyuubi in me. I should create more distance right now. The closer I get, the harder it would be to distance myself again. The Kyuubi already tried going after her once, only to hurt me. The more time passes, the closer I come to losing control. I couldn't bear hurting her. I couldn't bear knowing that I put her at risk merely for my selfish. His selfish what? What could he call this weird, warm feeling? Was this the thing other people talked about? Love. Had he really been stupid enough to allow his emotions to spiral that far out of control? Had he been so dumb that he had forgotten about his inevitable fate, and still had some semblance of hope for a future? Number. I have to create distance. I can't give in to these foolish emotions. It will only hurt her. Thank you, Hinata-chan, subconsciously addressing her in a far more familiar way that he wanted to. But So you finally figured it out. I guess you're not as much of a moron as you look. Still, it took you long enough, a familiar voice ended Naruto's musings. Looking around, Naruto saw, much to his annoyance, that Uchiha Sasuke standing nearby. Naruto scowled. What are you doing here, Uchiha? Taking a stroll in my compound, Uzumaki. Well, move on then. The last thing Naruto wanted at this moment was to be bothered by Sasuke. He had enough turmoil in his heart, even without the already sensitive subject of the Uchiha. Especially because the Kyuubi demanding the boy's death, each time he was near. Fight me. Sasuke stared at him without any hesitation whatsoever. What? Naruto truly thought he misheard. Fight me. The brooding rage was clear, even without Naruto's sense for hatred. I'm not in the mood, so get lost. Who says I'm giving you a choice? You can't just attack a fellow shinobi in your own village, Tem. These are my clan's grounds. You'd be surprised how much a clan is allowed to do on their own grounds. So why don't you quit hiding behind your little fainting Hyuga girlfriend and fight? Now. Naruto growled, but Hinata stopped him. Sasuke-san, why are you suddenly? This has nothing to do with you, so stay out, Sasuke snapped. I've seen and heard enough fangirls, so shut up. He did not want any interference. He needed to know. How strong am I? I know I'm faster. I know I have more skill at ninjutsu. I know I'm better at taijutsu. I can win. I have to win. And after the exams, he's the perfect opponent to prove my skill against. He had to win, or he'd have no choice but to accept Orochimaru's invitation, an invitation that no doubt came with a high price. When Naruto stepped forward, Hinata quickly moved in front of him. Don't do this, Naruto-kun, your chakra is still restricted, she warned him. Is this why Sasuke-san attacks right now? But he can't know about that. Or could he? Why else would he challenge Naruto now? If not because of his weakened condition, it makes no sense. Why would Sasuke attack a fellow Konoha shinobi? Because I know that the legal loophole of clan grounds only can be applied when it comes to the defense of clan secrets. Is it his grudge with Naruto-kun from the land of waves? I don't care. Naruto visibly restrained his anger. If that retard is going to insult us here, I don't see why I cannot answer to his challenge. Not that Naruto saw it as a challenge. No, Sasuke had dared to anger him. He had dared to insult Hinata. Closing his eyes, Naruto tried to stop himself. He tried. Who am I even kidding? The floodgates were already wide open. The rage Naruto could barely restrain flooded his mind. He knew it was the Kyuubi demanding the death of the Uchiha, due to whatever grudges the creature had against the Sharingan. The grudge was fueling the already uncontrollable mass of hatred that was the demon. Stop messing with me, Kyuubi. I know you want to kill him, and truthfully I can't say I care much whether he lives or dies, but if we kill him right now it would only turn things to shit for both of us. If it means the end of his accursed clan, it would be well worth it. The demon's deep voice rumbled through Naruto's skull. Kill him. He tried to kill you before, and now he violates the laws of your stupid village by assaulting you again. You have every right to retaliate. Kill him. Now. Seeing the Uzumaki tremble, and ignorant to existence of the Kyuubi, Sasuke started to smirk. Are you scared, Dobi? Or can't you go against her orders? Perhaps that cousin of hers was right when he said you were just her lapdog. Go away, Sasuke. Naruto stopped trembling. With his Sharingan, Sasuke saw multiple seals covering Naruto's body glow up, radiating chakra, though the intended effect eluded him. It seemed to disrupt Naruto's chakra flow, restraining him, rather than strengthening him. Smirking at the new advantage he had found, Sasuke taunted his opponent with a lazy wave of his hand, gesturing Naruto to attack first. "Don't do it, Naruto-kun," Hinata begged. "Please." Though when Naruto opened his eyes and Hinata saw his crimson eyes, she knew there was no stopping this. "I'm sorry, Hinata, but you have to get out of my way. Now. Naruto-kun, don't." But he didn't listen. Hinata knew there was only one thing left for her to do. "I have to warn the others. I'm not strong enough to stop this, but Gaara-san should be able to help. And perhaps we can get Anko-san to wake up as well." "Go," was the only thing Naruto said to her, before he walked past her. "Last chance, Uchiha," he growled. "Leave." Sasuke only smirked in response, his red Sharingan looking right into Naruto's savage crimson eyes. "Why would I? I don't really have any intention of leaving. No, Orochimaru might offer power, but it would most certainly come at a price." And Sasuke had to know whether it was a price he had to pay or not. How did he measure compared to someone as strong as Naruto? He needed to know. Am I strong? Is this path enough to rise to Itachi's level? He needed to know whether the whispers that came from his seal were right. He needed to know if that price was something he was willing to pay. "Then you will die," the Uzumaki hissed. Bonus. Cat burglar. Yay, the boss is finally freed. Sakana cheered, jumping around like a hyperactive kitten. What is the plan? Zero was more curious about what their leader had been dreaming up while she was held down due to the various punishments she had received for her transgressions. Another heist. Asterisk. Why not something bigger? Suto mumbled. I didn't train you morons into the ground for a little meat. Think of something more funny. Asterisk. As long as it doesn't take too much effort. Asterisk Tora whined. I've been chased the entire day. Stupid little genin are getting smarter by the day. We're going to scam people. Asterisk Chi grinned. You sure that's the last crate, Dad? Tenten called out to her father who was in the front of the shop. Yeah, that one is garbage. Just put it out in the corner. I'll make sure to get rid of it tonight. K Dad, but after that I'm going out for training, bye. Stay careful sweetie. Yeah, I'm not a little kid anymore, Tenten grumbled. I heard that. Tenten shook her head in exasperation and picked up the crate with scraps of metal, leather, and all the other material her dad used in his trade. Ah well, at least Neji is back. Training has at least become a little more fun again. Though, I wonder how he changed that much. He's become a lot nicer, the bun-haired girl mused while walking through the back door. Musings she shouldn't have been musing, as she suddenly tripped. The crate fell. Tenten tumbled after it, and with a lot of cussing the girl picked herself up and pulled her burdens together. She stopped short when she spied an injured cat. The black-furred feline had a white-tipped tail, and meowed rather pathetically. Girlish instincts kicked in, and the young genin started fussing around, examining the cat's injured leg. Just as planned, Asterisk Pseudo frowned, somewhat surprised that a shinobi would let herself get fooled this easily. Tenten had bandaged the supposedly injured cat. Supposedly, because all blood on Zero's leg came from a rather juicy pigeon. Anyway, it showed the group how easily they could fool people. And with Zero opening the girl's bedroom window from the inside, they could also burgle. It was not that they found anything of real value, or were even aiming for such a thing. No, that was below the standards the Pa clan set for itself. No, the goal of the Pa clan was only one thing: chaos. The devilish smirk on their leader's face soon said enough. Suto just shook his head and tried not to imagine what she was planning with the one thing she took from the girl's room. Neji Nisan, what is that in your pack? Hinata wondered. The white and pink piece of cloth seemed a bit out of place among the other things he kept in the pouches of his belt. Wah. Neji was only half awake. Training still took a lot out of him, considering how his injuries were still healing. Just my gear. Hinata took the cloth out and saw. Blushing, the heiress dropped it. I'm as sorry, she hastily said, blushing like a madman, and quickly exiting the room. Now what got into her? Neji frowned. Though he quickly started cursing at himself for doing so, frowning with a wound on the forehead wasn't exactly a nice experience. Though, all things were relative. Finding your female teammates' underwear in your pouches was worse. Having your overly shy cousin find that piece of underwear in your pouches was far, far worse. I think I'm going to like doing these kinds of things, she mumbled at herself, looking down at the now furiously red Hyuga boy, who was still staring at the gift she had left him. That's it for this part. If you enjoyed it, then like, share and subscribe for the next video, as it's going to be more interesting, and also check out my other playlists. Hope you would like them too.